The first sequence this video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 126 Life Forced. The reason why Ren Xiaosu wanted to save Luolan this time was that he wanted to get into the 109th barrier through Luolan. Ren Xiaosu had seen Luolan getting along harmoniously with his soldiers before, and the Qing group's combat personnel could feel the support for Luolan and Qingzhen. Such a supported person must have some extraordinary qualities. So Ren Xiaosu was also thinking, can this life-saving grace resolve the previous hatred? If it can't be resolved, then it won't be too late for Ren Xiaosu to kill Luolan himself. He also thought about whether to conceal his identity, such as changing his name or something, but then Ren Xiaosu rejected it because Luolan had met Yan Liwen and sister Xiaoyu. "Brother, give me a hand." Luolan wiped his face and said, "I can't get out by myself." Ren Xiaosu pulled Luolan out of the car. "Hurry up, the experimental subject is about to break through the defense line." As a result, Luolan broke away from Ren Xiaosu after saying this, and stared blankly at Tang Zhou and the others, where they were about to be submerged by the experimental subjects. There were dense gunshots on the defense line, and the sound of grenades exploding from time to time. The experimental subjects were unable to break through the defense line of the Qing group for a while. This battle was enough to show how outstanding the combat quality of the Qing group's combat personnel was. Ren Xiaosu said calmly, "They are doomed. If you rush back now, they will die in vain." Luolan took a deep breath and said, "No, thank you for saving me, but I can't leave." Ren Xiaosu could see that Luolan really cared about these soldiers, otherwise the other party would not have heard that the experimental subject was going to break through the defense line. The first reaction was to see if his soldiers were okay. This was different from the image of the consortium that Ren Xiaosu imagined. He once thought that the other party was a group of high-handed cold-blooded animals. Chen Wudi turned his head to look at Ren Xiaosu and asked, "Beiji and the others have run far away. What should we do now?" "Let's go." Ren Xiaosu looked at Luolan and planned to give up directly. At this time, Luolan had already run towards the defense line of the combat personnel. He couldn't accompany Luolan to die just because he wanted to enter the barrier. Ren Xiaosu could see that Luolan was very scared. Anyone would be scared. Now that all the refugees were wiped out, only a few managed to escape. This place had become a deadly place. But Ren Xiaosu couldn't figure out why Luolan, a fat man, could overcome his fear and run back to die. This was not just a pretense. He would really die if he went back. However, just as Ren Xiaosu and the others were about to leave, a wolf howl suddenly rose to the sky from a distance. The wolf howl seemed particularly abrupt at this time. Ren Xiaosu's heart sank. Was it going to make things worse? But to his surprise, when the wolf howl appeared, the experimental subjects gradually stopped and then quickly retreated. Within just 1 minute, they all left the battlefield. What was going on? Ren Xiaosu stood there and watched this scene. He was a little confused. Were these experimental subjects afraid of wolves? Originally, Ren Xiaosu thought that the arrival of the wolf pack was making things worse, but he didn't expect that the wolf pack would have a check and balance effect on the experimental subjects. Ren Xiaosu didn't want to know what happened between the wolf pack and the experimental subjects. He just hoped to reach Barrier 109 safely. He said to Chen Wudi, "Wudi, go and call Wang Fuge and the others." Chen Wudi was stunned for a moment. "Who is Wang Fuge?" "Go and call Beiji and the others. Don't come back. If anything happens, keep running for your life," Ren Xiaosu corrected. Why didn't he mention that the Dharma name didn't work anymore? Chen Wudi left happily, and Ren Xiaosu followed Luolan back to the Qing Consortium's headquarters. "Boss, why are you back?" Tang Zhou panted as he lay on a corpse. "Hurry up, they may be back soon." Luolan squatted beside Tang Zhou. He looked around and saw that more than 90% of the soldiers who followed him out of the barrier had died. The remaining 5 or 6 people were seriously injured and would not live long. Even if they were not dead now, they would not survive until barrier number 109. The cruelty of the experimental subjects was simply shocking. Luolan squatted beside Tang Zhou and said, "Is there anything you want to tell me?" Tang Zhou smiled and said, "Boss, you said you would invite us to experience this colorful world at the 109th barrier. I'm afraid we can't go." "Boss, You can come back for us when the time comes. Luo Lan was a little melancholy. Then I'm afraid I will die in the 109th barrier. The two of them suddenly laughed, as if they had told a funny joke. At this time, Tang Zhou suddenly said, "We don't regret it." "Yet," Luo Lan responded in a low voice. "Well, let me interrupt for a moment." Ren Xiaosu, who was watching the two big men, couldn't help but said, "They don't have to die." Tang Zhou and Luo Lan were stunned for a moment. They looked up at Ren Xiaosu at the same time. Tang Zhou smiled and said, "Don't joke around, little brother. I can't stop bleeding." However, Ren Xiaosu ignored him and took out a small porcelain bottle directly. "My medicine is excellent for treating external injuries. Don't worry, you won't die. It's just that my treatment is not in vain." Ren Xiaosu looked at Luo Lan. "In return, I want you to take us into Barrier 109 and obtain legal resident status." But Luo Lan didn't care about the latter sentence. Instead, he stared at the black medicine in Ren Xiaosu's hand. This porcelain bottle gave him a familiar feeling. Luo Lan's expression gradually changed from calm to shocked. "This can also treat external injuries. Wait, you are Ren Xiaosu, the miraculous doctor. What the hell is the miraculous doctor?" When he thought of the silk banner, Ren Xiaosu almost kicked Luo Lan to the ground. Ren Xiaosu is one of the wanted persons of the Qing Consortium. Luo Lan never thought that Ren Xiaosu would appear here and save him. Suddenly, Luo Lan remembered that someone had mentioned that Ren Xiaosu was a doctor in the town, which gave him hope. Seeing that Tang Zhou and others needed Ren Xiaosu to save them, Luo Lan decisively put aside his identity and approached Ren Xiaosu. "With our relationship, as long as you save them, you can let as many people as you want into the barrier." Ren Xiaosu was stunned for a moment. "What is our relationship?" Luo Lan was also stunned by the question. He hesitated for a long time before saying, "Doctor-patient relationship." Ren Xiaosu speechlessly threw 3 small bottles of black medicine to Luo Lan. "Apply them on their wounds." Luo Lan hesitated for a moment. "Will there be no side effects?" "No, apply the medicine to them quickly, otherwise no one will survive if the experimental subjects or wolves come later." Ren Xiaosu was impatient. In fact, he treated the wounds of Tang Zhou and others. On the one hand, he wanted Luo Lan to accept his favor, and on the other hand, although the off-road vehicle had overturned, the truck was still fine. After Tang Zhou and his men have recovered from their injuries, he can let them get on the truck and take Yan Liun and his men on their way. This way, everyone will be much more relaxed. Wait, Ren Xiaosu suddenly remembered something. "You won't think about how to catch me after your injuries are healed, right?" No. Luo Lan quickly shook her head and said, "In fact, our main target is Su Xianshu. You just took him by chance." Ren Xiaosu's face became strange. "That's good." He could only say in his heart, "I'm sorry, brother Su Xianshu." Although this may trick Su Xianshu, what can Ren Xiaosu do? Isn't he also forced by life? Thanks to Chunjiu Meiwei and Feng Zhu for becoming the new allies of this book. For the monthly votes, starting from 19,000 votes this month, 1 chapter will be added for every 5,000 votes, and it will be updated on the same day. Today's new book for the sacrifices fairy. Please respect yourself. I am also reading this book, and the author is obviously not a serious person. Chapter 127, Even lunatics say they are not lunatics. When the black medicine was applied to Tang Zhou's wound, he felt like he had returned from hell to the human world. The pain-relieving ability of the black medicine was very magical, and it was accompanied by a cool feeling. Tang Zhou looked up at Ren Xiaosu and said in shock, "Is this really the kind of medicine the boss usually takes?" Luo Lan said unhappily, "You will die if you don't speak, right?" "Shut up. Who among these wounded can drive?" Ren Xiaosu interrupted them and said, "If you don't want to die, get on the truck and leave here." Everyone shut up immediately after hearing this. The wounded who could still move struggled to stand up and climb to the driver's seat of the truck. Ren Xiaosu frowned and said to Luo Lan, "Don't you know how to drive? Don't let him die while driving in this state." Luo Lan said helplessly, "I can't drive." "You can't drive?" Ren Xiaosu found it a little unbelievable. "You are a big shot in the barrier, but you can't even drive." "There is no necessary connection between big shots and driving," Luo Lan said speechlessly. "Oh, no, there is a connection. It's because I don't usually drive myself when I go out, so I don't need to learn to drive." Ren Xiaosu didn't have the time to argue with him now. "Hurry up and get in the car." In the records of the Qing Corporation, Ren Xiaosu is still just a refugee with relatively strong strength, and Su Xianchu was the most dangerous person. So at this moment, when the vehicle passed the place where Ren Xiaosu and Chen Wudi had just killed the experimental subjects, Luo Lan even counted them specifically. Including the experimental subjects that jumped into the off-road vehicle, there were a total of 3, all of which were killed. Logically speaking, Ren Xiaosu did not have this ability. Luo Lan suddenly recalled that the young man next to Ren Xiaosu just now seemed a little familiar, but he was in a hurry and his mind was not at peace, and he could not remember who the other person was for a while. Soon, the vehicle drove to the location where Sister Xiaoyu and the others were. Ren Xiaosu poked his head out of the back of the troop transport truck and said, "Get in the car." Jiang Wu stood there and watched Yan Liwen and the others climb into the car one by one. She hesitated and said, "Can we get in too, or let the students get in? Don't worry about me." Because Jiang Wu felt that she had no relatives or friends with Ren Xiaosu and the others, and the other party let them get in the car or not, it was all a matter of words, so she made such a request. Ren Xiaosu looked at Jiang Wu, and after a pause he said, "I originally wanted you to get on the bus together." "Thank you. Thank you." Jiang Wu got excited, and she urged the students, "Everyone hurry up and get on the bus, remember to say thank you, this is a life-saving grace." A group of students climbed onto the bus. The back of the troop transport truck was very large, and it could easily accommodate so many people. Only Luo Lan sat in the corner and muttered quietly, "Isn't this my car? How come it seems that everything is decided by Ren Xiaosu?" But the situation is stronger than people, and Luo Lan has realized that at this moment, Ren Xiaosu has the absolute upper hand among them. Just now, when Ren Xiaosu treated Tang Zhou and the others, he also confiscated all their guns. At this time, every student who came up would say thank you to Ren Xiaosu several times in a row. Ren Xiaosu found that he actually had more than 20 thank you coins in just a short while, and every student was sincerely thanking him. Sometimes Ren Xiaosu thought that maybe it was teacher Jiang Wu who influenced them. This female teacher, as an ordinary person in the disaster, showed the most glorious side of human nature. This made Ren Xiaosu, who grew up in a chaotic environment like a market town, a little envious. Now, with the gratitude from Tang Zhou, Luo Lan and others, Ren Xiaosu has saved up 56 gratitude coins again. It must be said that the gratitude coins for this branch task came much faster than the previous task. After everyone got on the car, the truck started again, and everyone sat in the car in silence. After surviving the disaster, everyone has different feelings. Only after experiencing death will they be more eager for life. Sister Xiaoyu and Yan Liwen took out food from their bags and handed it to Ren Xiaosu and others. They knew that Ren Xiaosu and others needed food to replenish their energy after the battle. The others swallowed their saliva when they saw the food, but no one dared to speak to share the food, even Luo Lan did not speak. However, at this moment, Luo Lan looked at Chen Wudi and his eyes suddenly lit up. He finally remembered who Chen Wudi was. "Aren't you the lunatic in the 3rd mental hospital?" Luo Lan sat up straight. "Your name is?" "Yes, your name is Chen Wudi." As the actual controller of a barrier, how could Luo Lan not know the existence of the 3rd mental hospital? Moreover, the information of every extraordinary person imprisoned there would be reported to him. The content of that information was extremely detailed, even including the daily life, words and deeds of these extraordinary people. Even for the Qing group, extraordinary people are extremely important resources. Whether it is for use or research, the Qing group cannot ignore the existence of extraordinary people. So at this moment Luo Lan also figured out one thing: who killed the experimental subject before. However, what he saw was only what Ren Xiaosu wanted him to see. At this time, Chen Wudi looked at Luo Lan. He had never looked at Luo Lan carefully before, and Luo Lan's face was stained with yellow blood at that time. It was not until Luo Lan wiped his face clean that Chen Wudi recognized Luo Lan. "It's you, Bimbo Erba. I'm going to bend your legs." Luo Lan felt terrible at that time. He must have read Journey to the West. "Okay, don't talk nonsense, you lunatic. Who the hell is Bimbo Erba?" Ren Xiaosu glanced at Luo Lan. He remembered that Chen Wudi seemed to give a monster name to whoever he wanted to beat. Chen Wudi looked at Luo Lan unhappily. "But please call me the great sage equaling heaven directly in the future, and I'm not a lunatic." Luo Lan said unhappily, "Madmen say they are not crazy. You say you are the great sage equaling heaven and you want to protect your master to go to the west to obtain the scriptures. Then you must have a master, right? Where is your master? The car became quiet, and then Ren Xiaosu looked at Luolan. I am his master. Wang Fuge, I am Beiji. Wang Daling's eyes wandered between Wang Fuge and Ren Xiaosu. He hesitated for several seconds. I am Shaseng. Luolan. How many mentally ill people are there in this car? Luolan was stunned at the time. Are you serious? Suddenly, the driver in the driving seat shouted, there is something ahead. As soon as he finished speaking, Ren Xiaosu heard a sharp brake sound, as if the driver saw a very incredible scene. What's going on? Ren Xiaosu asked in a deep voice. There are several cars ahead, the driver replied. No, there are several damaged cars. It seems that they came from the 109th barrier. Chapter 128 Barriers to Legal Residence Rights. Damaged vehicles? After hearing what the driver said, many people in the car were stunned. How could there be a car here? You stay in the car, Ren Xiaosu said to Yan Luan. Wu Di, come with me to take a look. The car had stopped. After Ren Xiaosu jumped out of the car, he found that Luolan had also jumped out. The three of them slowly moved forward, but before they got close, Ren Xiaosu had already smelled the blood in the air. As the driver said, there were 3 cars blocking the road in front. The car bodies were broken and bloody. Be careful, Ren Xiaosu said. While talking, he carefully observed the nearby road surface, trying to see what attacked the convoy. Strange, Luolan said curiously. It is indeed a car from barrier number 109, but why would they send a car out at this time, and go to the direction of barrier number 113? At this time, Luolan had no idea that Qingzhen had threatened the manager of barrier number 109, so that the manager Li Yuan had to bear the pressure of the Li Consortium and send a small private army to search for Luolan's traces. But they encountered trouble halfway. The 3 cars stopped crookedly on the road. Ren Xiaosu and his companions did not see any bodies, but only bloodstains leading to the darkness deep in the wilderness. The bloodstains had dried up. Judging from the color of the bloodstains, Ren Xiaosu judged that a battle had probably happened half a day ago. Wait, Ren Xiaosu saw a strand of white hair on the ground, and then his face changed drastically. This is wolf hair. After saying that, Ren Xiaosu led Chen Wudi to retreat. He finally understood the bloodstains on the ground leading to the wilderness. It was the blood left by the wolves when they took away the dead humans. How could the wolf pack appear here half a day ago? But Ren Xiaosu didn't care to think so much. He just wanted to get back to the car and leave here. Wait for me. Luolan shouted in a low voice. Ren Xiaosu saw him jogging towards the 3 cars, as if he was looking for something in the car. The next moment Luolan took out a device Ren Xiaosu had never seen before and said, found it. When the 3 of them returned to the car, Ren Xiaosu asked, what did you find in their car just now? Luolan said with a smile, satellite phone. I hope the pin code is still the original 1111, otherwise I can't use it, just take it as a gamble. Ren Xiaosu took a look and found that this was the legendary satellite phone. However, what was the pin code Luolan was talking about? Ren Xiaosu had never even heard of it. The car started again, and Luolan entered 1111 on the satellite phone and said in surprise, it worked. Then he dialed another number. His movements were extremely skillful, as if this number had been engraved in his mind for a long time. Who are you contacting? Ren Xiaosu asked. My brother, Luolan replied, and then waited patiently. Suddenly, a man's voice came from the satellite phone. Hello, who is this? This is Luolan. Let my brother answer the phone. Luolan said happily. The voice on the phone soon changed to someone else's. Where are you? I'm on the run. I estimate that I will reach barrier 109 in a day and a half at the latest, Luolan replied. How is it over there? Have you come out of Jingshan? Qingzhen on the other end of the phone paused and said, I'm still in Jingshan. Su Zianshu, fuck your uncle. The voice of the satellite phone was a bit loud. After Ren Xiaosu heard Qingzhen's words, he suddenly felt a little guilty. He knew very well that it was because he cut the tires of all the vehicles on Qingzhen's side that Qingzhen had not yet walked out of Jingshan. Qingzhen seemed to adjust his mood. He asked calmly, whose phone is this? Have Lu Yuan's people picked you up? Only then did Luo Lan realize that the 3 cars just now were sent by Qing Zhen at Lu Yuan's request. He replied, Lu Yuan's people had an accident on the road. I found this satellite phone in their car. Qing Zhen didn't care what happened to Lu Yuan's people. He thought for a while and said, rest after you arrive at Barrier 109. Don't go back to the Qing Consortium for the time being. Why? Luo Lan was stunned for a moment, but he reacted immediately. The old men in the Presidium have decided to punish you. It's just temporary house arrest in Barrier 111, Qing Zhen said in a relaxed tone, but many people were dissatisfied with you before. If you come back, you may have to accept heavier punishment. They don't know you are alive yet, so you stay in Barrier 109 first. Yes, Luo Lan responded in a low voice. By the way, Qing Zhen said, when you get to Barrier 109, tell Lu Yuan to issue a warrant for the arrest of Ren Xiaosu, Su Xianshu, Yang Xiajin, and Luo Zhenyu. I suspect that these 4 people may have gone there after escaping Jingshan. After all, the closest to Jingshan now is only Barrier 111 and Barrier 109. Luo Lan looked at Ren Xiaosu awkwardly. Ren Xiaosu is right next to me. Qing Zhen paused and asked in confusion, did you catch him? Luo Lan was even more embarrassed. You may not believe it when I tell you this. Looking at the current situation, it may be that he caught me. Qing Zhen. Ren Xiaosu looked at Luo Lan calmly. Luo Lan, under great pressure, quickly explained to Qing Zhen that it was Ren Xiaosu who saved him, otherwise he might have died just now. It was not until then that Qing Zhen understood what had happened. Qing Zhen said on the phone, tell him that the matter between the Qing Consortium and him is written off, and I, Qing Zhen, owe him a favor, a life. They want to enter Barrier 109 and become legal residents there, Luo Lan said. Just tell Lu Yuan directly. Qing Zhen didn't seem to take it to heart. Huh? Ren Xiaosu suddenly breathed a sigh of relief. These days, the 4 words Qing Consortium were like a shadow hanging over his heart. It was a very terrible thing to be remembered by such a behemoth. No one would be willing to go against a consortium that controlled more than 20 barriers in this era. Of course, Ren Xiaosu decided again that he must not let Qing Zhen find out that it was him who cut the tire that night. Otherwise, based on the tone of Qing Zhen scolding Su Xianshu just now, Ren Xiaosu felt that this matter might not be over yet. But Ren Xiaosu suddenly remembered Qing Zhen's words, and he suddenly wondered, where would Yang Xiajin go after escaping from Jingshan? Barrier 109 or Barrier 111? Or somewhere farther? Luo Zhenyu's ability to shuttle through shadows cannot be used unlimitedly, so Yang Xiajin and the others can't go far, right? Ren Xiaosu glanced at Yan Liwen and Xiaoji at this time. They all heard the conversation between Luo Lan and Qing Zhen. At this moment, Ren Xiaosu and Yan Liwen had a hint of excitement in their eyes. Because they understood that they were no longer refugees. From now on, they would be legal residents of Barrier number 109. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelists. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 129, Titan Inkers. Ren Xiaosu saved Luo Lan because he wanted to enter the barrier through him. Now that his goal has been achieved, he has also fulfilled a wish. As for how Luo Lan and his friends persuade the Li Group and the barrier managers of 109, that is Qing Zhen's business. After all, the groups have always been sharing what they have, so they still have to give him some face. From Qing Zhen's tone, it doesn't seem to be a very difficult thing. Wang Fuga sighed quietly. Some things are as difficult as ascending to heaven for us, but for people in their world, it's just a matter of a word. Luo Lan said, we at the Qing Group will definitely do what we promised you. How can such a big group deceive a few refugees like you? At this time, Wang Fuga suddenly said to Luo Lan, Xiaosu saved your life, right? Yes, Luo Lan said in surprise. Boss Luo is a big shot, Wang Fuga said with a shrewd look in his eyes, your life is very valuable. It's not enough to just enter the barrier. If people hear about it, they will think that our Qing Group is stingy. When Wang Fuga followed Ren Xiaosu to escape from the market town, he had shown his value to Ren Xiaosu, and now it was time to show his value. In fact, Wang Fuga knew his own shortcomings very well. He had never seen the world, and bargaining with a big shot like Luolan would be very low class, and Luolan might even laugh at him in his heart for being a beggar holding a golden rice bowl. But it didn't matter. Wang Fuge must help Ren Xiaosu to get all the favorable conditions to the greatest extent. For this, he could be shameless. The conversation between Qingzhen and Luolan just now made Wang Fuge realize that obtaining the qualification to live in the barrier was actually nothing to these big shots, so could he ask for something more? What else do you want? Luolan sat in the truck bed and looked at Wang Fuge. Don't ask for too much? Wang Fuge felt hopeful when he heard this. He said, a shop. Your Qing group must have a lot of property in the 109th barrier. It shouldn't be a problem to give us a shop. Luolan said lightly, my life is not worth a shop. Old Wang was stunned for a moment. It was a bit shameless to say that. He, a refugee, could be shameless, but how could the big shots of the Qing group also be shameless? In fact, Wang Fuge didn't know that the group was the most shameless group of people in the world, otherwise they wouldn't have become a group. Wang Fuge asked Luolan, your brother just said that he owed Ren Xiaosu a favor and a life, right? What do you want to say? Luolan was speechless. Is your brother's favor and life worth a shop? Wang Fuge asked. Luolan was silent for a long time. It's worth it. He could be shameless, but when it came to Qingzhen, he couldn't lose his face. I will prepare a similar shop for you, Luolan said, but our Qing group will not owe you anything from now on. Okay, Ren Xiaosu agreed decisively. This also allowed them to have a stable industry in the barrier. Even if they did not do business, the rent of the shop alone would probably be enough for their daily life, not to mention that he had promised Lao Wang to reopen the grocery store. However, Wang Fuge seemed to be a little reluctant. He said to Luolan, then what do you think the lives of your 5 subordinates are worth? Luolan was not well at that time. Can't you say it all in one breath? I will give you a big shop with a good location. Don't tell me anything else. Besides, I will die in front of you now, okay? Wang Fuge wanted to say something else, but Ren Xiaosu pulled him back and said that he should stop when he saw that he was ahead. If Luolan was really forced into a corner, he would regret it after entering the barrier, and Ren Xiaosu and the others would have no way to deal with it. Ren Xiaosu chose to save Tang Zhou and others because he found that Luolan was a little sentimental, so saving Tang Zhou and others would definitely make Luolan grateful. At this time, Ren Xiaosu suddenly saw Chen Wudi on the opposite side looking at Luolan with ill intentions, as if he wanted to slay the demon on the spot. He found that Chen Wudi's appearance had changed a little, but he couldn't tell what the problem was for a while. Wait, Ren Xiaosu asked, hey, Wudi, is that a golden hoop on your head? Where did it come from? He could say with certainty that Chen Wudi didn't have this golden hoop on his head before tonight. Ren Xiaosu suspected that this was also Chen Wudi's own imagination, but this golden hoop was different from the golden hoop stick and would not disappear. The golden hoop was given by the Bodhisattva, don't you know, Master? Chen Wudi looked like you should know it for sure. I know, Ren Xiaosu replied. But that's not what I want to ask you. Ren Xiaosu planned to evade the question. After all, his current role is Master Sanzang. How could he not know where his apprentice's golden hoop came from? Right. However, at this moment, Chen Wudi looked at Ren Xiaosu seriously. Master, do you still remember how to recite this spell? Ren Xiaosu almost collapsed. How could I know? Exclamation mark. In the original book, Guanyin did not tell the specific content when she told it to Tang Sen. Ren Xiaosu looked at Chen Wudi's expectant eyes and tried to say, 800 standard soldiers run to the north slope, and the artillery runs side by side to the north. Chen Wudi suddenly hugged his head. Master, don't recite it. Master, don't recite it. Ren Xiaosu sat there stunned. He thought to himself, Chen Wudi, you are quite cooperative. At this time, he found that other people were looking at him with weird eyes, and some students were actually in deep thought. This Bodhisattva is probably a crosstalk performer. Luolan felt that his IQ was greatly insulted. He couldn't understand why this lunatic Chen Wudi would recognize Ren Xiaosu as his master. If you insist that Ren Xiaosu, Chen Wudi, Wang Fuge, and Wang Dalin are all the reincarnations of Tang Sang, he would rather crash into the car and die now. The car drove for dozens of kilometers before slowly stopping. Luolan asked, do we dare to take a break? Will the wolves catch up? Only then did Ren Xiaosu remember the weirdness of the wolves. He thought for a while and said, let's take a break. Now only one person can drive. It's not good to tire him out. And if the wolves want to catch up, I'm afraid the car won't be able to outrun them. In fact, Ren Xiaosu has always had a doubt in his heart. He once thought that the wolves had returned to the ruins of the 113 barrier, so they didn't attack the refugees. But now it seems that the wolves have been hovering around them, and even surpassed their team. But why didn't the wolves attack the refugee team? There is no explanation. Unless there must be a reason among the people that the wolves don't want to attack. Chapter 130, Inciting Chen Wudi to Revolt. When everyone was resting, Ren Xiaosu found a hillside and wanted to look around to see if he could find any traces of the wolf pack. However, when he walked up the hillside, he was stunned. Ren Xiaosu actually found that the wolf pack was really nearby. He saw the silver wolf king standing on the wilderness and staring at him quietly. Even the wind in the wilderness seemed to stop for it. But surprisingly, Ren Xiaosu did not find the wolf king's intention to attack this time. The other party just looked at him quietly, then turned around and ran away into the wilderness. The wolf king was extremely strong. Ren Xiaosu roughly estimated some reference objects such as bushes around the wolf king just now. He suddenly found that if he was not wrong, the wolf king was already bigger than a cow. Why? What is the purpose of the wolf pack following them? Ren Xiaosu had felt something was wrong before. The wolf pack did not dare to cross the canyon, but when Ren Xiaosu came back from the back of the canyon, he found that they had been guarding there. At that time, Ren Xiaosu wondered if it was because he escaped from their mouths last year that they were a little grudgeful, but now it seems that the situation is more complicated. No matter what, Ren Xiaosu thought that as long as the wolves didn't come to attack, it would be a good thing. As for why, he didn't intend to delve into it. Maybe in one day he would say goodbye to this wilderness, and he would enter the barrier he had always dreamed of, and live a life without having to worry. Life was getting better day by day, and Ren Xiaosu promised Yan Limwen that he would definitely take him to live a good life. Back to the car, everyone was getting out to move around. After all, although the car was not too crowded, it was always a bit uncomfortable to be stuffy inside. At this time Wang Fuge found Ren Xiaosu, and he solemnly said, "Thank you Xiaosu, thank you for bringing my father and me into the barrier." Sincere thanks from Wang Fuge, +1. Ren Xiaosu looked at Wang Fuge and said, "There is no need for us to say such polite words. Not only will we enter the barrier, we will also reopen your grocery store." As a result, Wang Fuge shook his head and said, "It's not my grocery store, but your grocery store. Listen to you Xiaosu, that is what you exchanged for your life. I will be your shopkeeper in the future. I have no other requests. Remember to give me a higher salary." Ren Xiaosu is stunned. He didn't expect Wang Fuge to refuse such a huge benefit. Just as Wang Fuge was still thinking about how to convince Ren Xiaosu, he heard Ren Xiaosu say with emotion, "Okay, I'll listen to you." Wang Fuge. Sure enough, he was the shameless and money-loving boy he knew. But at this time, Ren Xiaosu added, "You have 30% of the shares in this store, and the money from the sale of your antibiotics will belong to you. This share is not given for nothing." First of all, Ren Xiaosu himself has no talent for running a store, while Lao Wang has been running it for a lifetime, so Ren Xiaosu thinks that professional things should be done by professionals, so that he can do other things. In fact, what Ren Xiaosu wants to do most now is not to make money, but to go to school. Luo Lan took advantage of the gap when Ren Xiaosu walked away and kept looking at Chen Wudi. He was already quite familiar with Chen Wudi. Whether it was Chen Wudi's work and rest schedule or Chen Wudi's preferences, someone had already given him information. Luo Lan used to envy his younger brother. After all, his younger brother had a superhuman as a bodyguard, which was cool to think about. Unfortunately, a superhuman appeared in the military camp under Qin Zhen, but Luo Lan was not so lucky. Now, after Luo Lan found out that Chen Wudi could deal with 3 experimental bodies by himself, he started to think about it. You have to know that Chen Wudi is a fool. He is a big shot of the Qin group, but he can't fool a fool. Ren Xiaosu has never shown his superhuman ability in front of Luo Lan, so in Luo Lan's eyes, Ren Xiaosu is just a refugee with better skills and courage. How can he have such a powerful superhuman as Chen Wudi as a follower, and they are master and apprentice? He, Luo Lan, is richer than Ren Xiaosu, more handsome than Ren Xiaosu, and a big shot of the group with power that others can't imagine. A talent like him should have a follower like Chen Wudi. Thinking of this, Luo Lan came to Chen Wudi and said with a cheerful smile, Wudi, your master is so poor, why don't you follow me in the future? Chen Wudi glanced at Luo Lan and said, I don't want to talk to Bin Borba. Luo Lan. Goddamn Bin Borba, this matter can't be resolved, right? What's wrong with the thinking of a mental patient, can he be more normal? Exclamation mark. At this time, Ren Xiaosu came back. When he saw Luo Lan next to Chen Wudi, he smiled and said, why, you also want to go to the west to obtain the scriptures? If you really want to, we are still short of a white dragon horse. No, you don't look like a white dragon horse like this. Ren Xiaosu turned around and looked around. When he saw Wang Dalin, his eyes lit up. We are still short of a shoulder pole and 2 baskets, how about you be a bamboo basket? Luo Lan was so angry that he turned around and left. He suddenly felt that he was a little out of tune with Ren Xiaosu and the others because he was not crazy enough. In the early morning, the convoy was ready to set off again. This time they were going to go directly to barrier number 109. When Luo Lan and his friend's car broke down, they transferred the oil from the broken car to the good car, so the oil in the tank was enough to support this journey. Ren Xiaosu imagined what it would be like to live in the barrier. He suddenly asked Jiang Wu and her students, what is it like in the barrier? Jiang Wu thought for a while and recalled, students can go to class in the barrier with peace of mind. During breaks, they will go to the playground with basketballs to sweat. Girls will cheer for the boys they like when they see them. The teachers actually know that they have developed feelings for each other, but sometimes they will choose to turn a blind eye. Of course, most teachers will call their parents. Call the parents. Ren Xiaosu is stunned for a moment. Why call the parents? Let the parents punish the students. Jiang Wu smiled. Oh, Ren Xiaosu nodded. Fortunately, I don't have parents. This sentence choked Jiang Wu, and she didn't know how to continue the sentence. But for some reason, she felt a little sad. It turned out that this boy was so helpless living in this wilderness. Ren Xiaosu shouted, everyone get in the car, let's go. Then he saw Luo Lan facing the direction they came from and bowed 3 times to the soldiers of the combat brigade who died for him. In fact, Luo Lan did not show any particularly sad emotions along the way, as if he was very optimistic. But when Ren Xiaosu saw this scene, he suddenly felt that Luo Lan did not show sadness just because he did not want to make himself look weak. Chapter 131, Survival. We can see the market town ahead. Yan Limon lay in the truck bed, looking forward through the transparent glass between the cab and the truck bed, his eyes flashing. Hearing this, all the people who were dozing off in the truck bed woke up. Everyone had a hard time on the road. There was not even a place to lie down for a whole day, and they had to be frightened. They were all very worried. What if the wolves or the terrible experimental subjects caught up with them again? By then, even with Chen Wudi, the extraordinary, I'm afraid he wouldn't be able to stop so many experimental subjects. Although Ren Xiaosu told them that it should be fine, everyone was still a little uneasy. Until the moment they really saw human civilization, everyone finally felt touched. That was the happiness after surviving the catastrophe. Of course, some people were surprised. For example, Luo Lan and Jiang Wu were thinking about why they didn't see Ren Xiaosu do anything, but this young man made the judgment that the wolves would not attack again. And the wolves really didn't come. Jiang Wu had experienced it too many times on the road. The refugee boy made too many correct decisions like a prophet. If she hadn't followed Ren Xiaosu with her students on the night of the experiment, they would have died there. During the escape, Yan Liuan, Xiaoyuji and the others didn't suffer much. The other refugees didn't bring anything with them. Among all the people, only the 5 people on Ren Xiaosu's side had neat luggage, which clearly showed that they had prepared in advance. This made Jiang Wu a little envious of Yan Liuan and the others. If Ren Xiaosu had taken her and the students with him, they would have suffered less. Of course, she knew that Ren Xiaosu had no obligation to do so, and he had helped her with so many things, such as finding food and getting them on the bus this time. Jiang Wu knew that it was Ren Xiaosu's credit that she and the students could come to the 109th barrier alive. She turned to the students and said, "Come and thank Ren Xiaosu. You must understand that it is because of him that you can live to this day." After hearing this, the students looked at Ren Xiaosu. This refugee of the same age really made them admire him from the bottom of their hearts. "Thank you. Thank you. Thank you from Ziguangkan, +1. Thank you from Chang, +1. From. Ren Xiaosu smiled and said, "You're so polite, so polite." Less than a minute later, Ren Xiaosu counted the number of people and suddenly said, "There are still 2 people I haven't thanked yet, hurry up." Jiang Wu didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Although she was very grateful to Ren Xiaosu, sometimes she did feel that Ren Xiaosu's brain circuit might be different from others. The troop transport truck drove all the way from the road in the middle of the market town to the barrier gate. Yan Liwen lay on the back of the truck and looked outside. "Brother, this place is similar to our market town." The so-called similar probably refers to the same shacks and the same living conditions. But Ren Xiaosu used to feel shabby when he saw this scene, but now he felt it was kind. You know, he is different from others. After he went to Jingshan, he encountered the barrier disaster before he had time to rest, so he hasn't had a good rest for half a month. Even he, who is extremely determined, is a little tired. Jiang Wu hesitated for a moment and asked, "Did you live in such a place before?" Everyone in the barrier knew that there was a market town outside the barrier, but no one knew what the market town looked like, because not everyone could enter and exit the barrier. So in Jiang Wu's previous imagination, she thought that the market town was a place with lower and more dilapidated buildings, but she didn't expect that there were no buildings here, and most of the living places were extremely dilapidated. It turned out that they had always lived in a fairy tale paradise, while Ren Xiaosu and his friends lived in hell. Sister Xiaosu smiled and said, "But it's not that hard. Our Xiaosu is still a substitute teacher in the market town. If the barrier is fine this time, maybe he can become a new teacher." This sentence surprised Jiang Wu even more. She looked at Ren Xiaosu. To be honest, she only thought that Ren Xiaosu was amazing, but she didn't expect that Ren Xiaosu was actually a teacher. In an instant, the image of Ren Xiaosu in her heart became taller and taller. This is the social status given by social identity. If Ren Xiaosu was just a medicine seller, he would definitely not be able to gain respect. Luo Lan jumped out of the car in annoyance. The more he looked at Ren Xiaosu, the angrier he became. He was obviously just a refugee, but he had an extraordinary person as his apprentice, and a beautiful female teacher was staring at him. He walked towards the gate majestically and shouted to the people at the gate, "Let Lu Yuan come out to see me." The person at the gate seemed to be a resident of the market town. He looked at Luo Lan for a long time and said, "Who is Lu Yuan?" Luo Lan's face suddenly turned dark. He shouted, "Where's the manager of this market town? Get out of here quickly." Ren Xiaosu also jumped out of the car at this time and spotted the figure of the market town manager at a glance. After all, the temperament and clothing of the market town manager were completely different from those of the refugees. He said to the other party, "We are from Barrier 113. This is Luo Lan from the Qing group. Go and report to your barrier manager." After speaking, Ren Xiaosu turned around and said to Yan Liwen and the others, "You don't have to get off the car. The car will drive directly into the barrier later." Jiang Wu was stunned for a moment, because Ren Xiaosu's eyes turned to her when he spoke. She instantly realized that this was Ren Xiaosu hinting at her something. Luo Lan had previously agreed to let Ren Xiaosu, Yan Liwen and the other 5 people enter the barrier, but he didn't say that Jiang Wu and the students could enter together. If someone really took it seriously, Jiang Wu and the others might become refugees in the future. But now with Luo Lan's banner, everyone sat in the car and went directly into the barrier, and no one would say anything. Maybe the people in the 109th barrier would just think that all the people in the car were from the Qing group. Normally, you have to check your identity to enter the barrier, but Ren Xiaosu wanted to gamble that Lu Yuan didn't dare to check Luo Lan. At this time, the high-ranking barrier manager was like a poor guy living in the cracks between the various financial groups, and no one dared to offend him. After Ren Xiaosu finished speaking, he returned to the car and closed his eyes to rest, while Luo Lan, Tang Zhou and others stood below waiting for Lu Yuan to come out. This wait lasted for an hour. I don't know why, but Ren Xiaosu always felt that Luo Lan's pretentiousness was very similar to his younger brother Qing Zhen. In Ren Xiaosu's eyes, the two of them looked exactly the same when they were showing off, but Luo Lan's pretentiousness always felt a little lower than Qing Zhen's. After all, Qing Zhen was surrounded by combatants and had a fierce aura. When Ren Xiaosu first met Luo Lan was already in a very bad state. Of course, Ren Xiaosu didn't know that Qing Zhen's character had been destroyed by himself. This was also the reason why Qing Zhen insisted on issuing a comprehensive wanted notice for Su Zianshu. Chapter 132 Inside the Barrier. After waiting for an unknown amount of time, the gate of the barrier finally slowly opened. The heavy door was pulled upward by the rope hidden in the wall, and the huge loom in the wall made a creaking sound. Ren Xiaosu suddenly turned his head and looked inside the door. This was the first time he looked at that world with such eagerness. In the past, the gate of the 113 barrier was often opened, but Ren Xiaosu always restrained himself from looking at it, because life in this world has its ups and downs, and he was afraid that he would think about that world day and night after seeing it. Yan Liwen once wanted to secretly look inside, but was stopped by Ren Xiaosu. At that time, Ren Xiaosu said that he would definitely take Yan Liwen to live in the barrier in the future, but in fact, he himself did not believe this statement. And now, they will also belong to that world. A large group of people came out of the barrier. A handsome middle-aged man strode out. He smiled and greeted Luo Lan. "Boss Luo, you are so honored to be here. I am sorry for not welcoming you in person." As a result, Luo Lan's face was gloomy. "Is it okay to say sorry for not welcoming you in person?" Lu Yuan smiled and apologized repeatedly. "I received a notice from Boss Qing and sent someone to pick you up without stopping, but they also lost contact, otherwise I would have been waiting here a long time ago." At this time, Luo Lan did not say much, but walked directly into the 109 barrier. He waved to the truck. "Follow me." Suddenly, Lu Yuan shouted, "Wait, who are the people in the car? You have to get off and be checked, right?" The next moment Luo Lan turned around and slapped Lu Yuan in the face with a loud slap. "Shameless thing, you dare to check my Qing's car." Everyone was stunned. This is Lu Yuan, the manager of the 109 barrier. This scene surprised Ren Xiaosu a little. He didn't expect Luo Lan to be so violent all of a sudden. Until this moment, Luo Lan finally looked like a big shot of the consortium in his imagination. But after getting along with Luo Lan, he knew very well that this was not Luo Lan's nature. Or rather, this was actually Luo Lan's outer shell to protect himself. He needed others to fear him. No wonder people in the 113th barrier were so awed when they heard Luo Lan's name. In fact, what Ren Xiaosu didn't know was that Lao Liu, the manager of the 113th barrier, had his life and death decided by Qing Zhen's words, and now he had died on the way to the 178th barrier in exile. However, Ren Xiaosu suddenly felt that Luo Lan was interesting, because this time Luo Lan did this to lead them into the barrier. You know, there was nothing in the car, only the 6 people in his team, and Jiang Wu and her more than 20 students. After being slapped, the middle-aged man stood there for a long time without saying a word. Luo Lan said with a smile, "What's wrong, Lu Yuan? Have you forgotten who you are?" Lu Yuan lowered his head. "No, Boss Luo, please come in." He didn't even ask why the people he sent out didn't come back with him. This was actually not an important matter for him. Ren Xiaosu sat in the truck bed and watched quietly. So this was the power and confidence of the consortium. At this time, several people came out of the barrier and came to Luo Lan and said respectfully, "Boss Qing asked us to wait for you here." Luo Lan raised his eyebrows. "My brother's people." "Yes." Luo Lan smiled. "Okay, led the way." At this point, he turned to Lu Yuan and said, "You should do what you should do. I will have someone bring your identity information to you in the evening. You can make me 20 or so resident information cards and send them over." "Okay, I understand," Lu Yuan said politely. After that, Luo Lan got on the off-road vehicle that came to pick him up. Ren Xiaosu watched the truck drive into the barrier little by little in the shadow of the truck bed, while Lu Yuan stood outside the barrier quietly, wondering what he was thinking. When the vehicle entered the barrier, Yan Liwen lay down behind the car and exclaimed, "Brother, the streets in the barrier are so clean. Brother, the buildings in the barrier are so tall. In the market town, there are only bungalows and no high-rise buildings, but here 2 or 3-story buildings can be seen everywhere, and even 5 or 6-story ones are taller." However, what Ren Xiaosu wanted to tell Yan Liwen was that he had seen taller skyscrapers in the abandoned city of Jingshan, towering into the sky like a sword. After seeing that scene, Ren Xiaosu found that the high-rise buildings in the barrier seemed to be a little bit lacking. After all, human civilization has regressed a lot. Jiang Wu looked at Yan Liwen quietly as if she was dazzled, but she didn't have the slightest idea of laughing in her heart, but felt that the life they were accustomed to was so strange to the refugees. "Brother, there are really a lot of plants in this barrier. There are plants planted on both sides of the road. Wait, look, there is a large piece of grass over there. Yan Liwen exclaimed. That's a park, Jiang Wu explained to Yan Liwen. People in the barrier can take a walk here after dinner, and there will be aunties dancing here at night. Tape recorders are rare in this era. Any aunt who can own a tape recorder and tapes that play music will become the most dazzling person in the dance team. Yan Liwen nodded. Brother, look at that father and daughter sitting on the lawn, feeding each other. It's a loving scene. Wait, why are they kissing? Jiang Wu said with a strange expression. Those are not father and daughter. At this moment, a peculiar-looking car sped past a truck. The roar of the car's engine set off waves of noise when passing by. A middle-aged man with sparse hair was sitting in the car. Ren Xiaosu asked Jiang Wu curiously, why doesn't this car have a roof? Jiang Wu thought for a moment and said, this is called a convertible. It's a car that only the rich people in the barrier can drive. It's also one of the symbols of status in the barrier. Ren Xiaosu sighed, it's great to be rich. Even your hair is open. Jiang Wu was stunned for a long time, because she didn't know how to respond. At this moment, Ren Xiaosu finally understood. No wonder there are stars like Luo Xinai in the barrier. It turns out that the people in the barrier live a much happier life than them. These people don't have to face wild beasts, nor do they have to sweat and carry baskets of coal out of the mine. They only need to do some decent things in the barrier to get resources. The refugees outside the barrier are like worker ants, feeding more than 100,000 queen ants. Ren Xiaosu heard from Zhang Jinglan that there are relatively few refugees outside the 113 barrier. In some places, a large number of refugees gather to grow crops or participate in industrial manufacturing. There are even large human settlements full of refugees. Of course, these large human settlements are also controlled by the consortium. Suddenly, Ren Xiaosu saw several rails embedded in the ground on the road surface. What is this? These are tram tracks, Jiang Wu said. Residents can take the tram to work and get off work every day. Thanks to classmate 32732 for becoming a new ally of this book. Today's recommended book, Yimin Huanglian's new work Unqualified Demon King. Chapter 133 Go to School. The vehicle continued to move forward. Everything in the fortress was new and interesting to Ren Xiaosu and his friends, although some things made them feel very strange. In fact, Ren Xiaosu occasionally thought that the wilderness was becoming more and more dangerous. Although the 109th fortress did not suffer from the terrible earthquake like the 113th fortress, what if something happened one day? But the people in this fortress never considered fighting, as if these things were all the consortium's business and had nothing to do with them. If something really happened, these people in the fortress would not have the slightest ability to survive in the wilderness. Yan Liwen kept looking outside when the truck was moving, but some pedestrians in the fortress saw Yan Liwen's dirty appearance, and their eyes revealed a kind of curiosity and pity. It was not disgust or pity, as if they were silently saying that this child was so pitiful. When Yan Liwen came into contact with such eyes, the excitement in his eyes slowly subsided, and his body sat back in the truck bed. He and Ren Xiaosu never needed anyone's pity, and their lives were not miserable at all. Brother, why don't we go back to the market town? Yan Liwen was already feeling uncomfortable. Don't talk nonsense, Ren Xiaosu said, but after a pause he said, if you really can't get used to it, I'll find a way to go out with you. Yes, Yan Liwen nodded happily. Ren Xiaosu looked back at Jiang Wu and the others. What are your plans for the future? Ren Xiaosu and the others didn't have much to worry about for the time being. After all, he had a lot of gold in his hands, and Lao Wang was carrying a lot of hard currency and medicine, so they wouldn't starve to death in the fortress. Moreover, they had to take over a shop from the Qing Consortium, and the place to live was also solved. Jiang Wu was also entangled when he heard this. They had nowhere to go. Then Tang Zhou smiled and said, don't worry about this. After you get your resident ID card, we will arrange for you to enroll. Teacher Jiang Wu can continue to be a teacher, and the students can continue to go to school. At that time, you can live in the school dormitory and receive subsidies. You don't have to worry about your life at all. Are you so kind? Ren Xiaosu said in surprise. We don't have good intentions, Tang Zhou said. Since we have experienced life and death together, we have at least shared hardships. My Qing group will not refuse to help with such a small favor. But isn't this a barrier controlled by the Li group? Do you keep your word? Wang Fugi asked curiously. The Li group will not be so hard on us for such a small matter, Tang Zhou said with a smile. Things between groups are sometimes complicated, and sometimes simple. When there is no interest involved, everyone is always in harmony. Ren Xiaosu understood after hearing this. For the group, arranging a few people to enter the school is a trivial matter, and they don't even take it seriously. That, ahem, how much subsidy does the school give to students? Ren Xiaosu said. 900 yuan a month. Tang Zhou was not sure. Each barrier is different, as long as it is enough for students to live for a month. Yan Luoyun and I will also go to school. Ren Xiaosu said righteously, money doesn't matter, we are mainly eager for knowledge. Tang Zhou looked at Ren Xiaosu blankly. No, Ren Xiaosu suddenly said, not only me, but also Wang Fuge, Wang Dalin, Xiaoyuji, Chen Wudi, the 6 of us will go to school. Tang Zhou looked at Wang Fuge in shock. He is almost 50 years old, and he is still going to school? Can you have some shame? Not to mention Tang Zhou, even Wang Fuge's head was buzzing after hearing what Ren Xiaosu said. Forget about the others, Tang Zhou said in a muffled voice, you and Yan Luoyun can be arranged to enroll. Yan Luoyun almost cried, I don't want to go either. Is there any place for you to talk here? Ren Xiaosu glared at him. However, at this moment, he saw a familiar figure outside the car out of the corner of his eye. When he turned around to take a closer look, he found that the other person had disappeared. Was it an illusion or something he really saw? Ren Xiaosu was a little confused. That familiar feeling was like lightning, coming quickly and going quickly. But don't be too happy too soon, Tang Zhou said to Ren Xiaosu, this is something outside of our transaction. We, Kingshi, have nothing to owe you. So if you want us to help you get admission, you have to give us something in exchange. Snap, Ren Xiaosu slapped 2 small porcelain bottles in Tang Zhou's hands as if he had predicted it. I know that Luo Pang wants this, take it. Tang Zhou was speechless. Did you call Luo Pang? Exclamation mark. There are only 2 people in the world who have called Luolan Luo Pang and have not had any trouble. One is Qing Zhen and the other is Zhang Jinglan. But Tang Zhou suddenly felt that Ren Xiaosu might be the third one. The vehicle slowly stopped, and Luo Lan's voice rang out, get out of the car. Ren Xiaosu jumped out of the car, and Luo Lan said to him directly, the store on the left is what I promised you. It's in a prime location, and you won't lose anything. Ren Xiaosu looked around, and he suddenly found that this street was full of shops and people were coming and going on the street. Just as Ren Xiaosu was looking around, the passers-by were also looking at him curiously, but everyone recognized the ginkgo leaf logo on the truck and knew that it was someone from the Qing group. What do you think? Ren Xiaosu looked at Wang Fuge, who didn't know if the location was good or not. Not bad, Wang Fuge nodded to hint Ren Xiaosu to hurry up and get on. He knew that Luo Lan was not bluffing. There were so many people and shops on this street, and when it comes to doing business, people have money. There is a yard and a few rooms in the back, just enough for you to live in. The things that this shop originally sold are also very compatible with your previous business, so I'll just give it to you at a bargain price, Luo Lan said lightly. From now on, I, Luo Lan, will not owe you anything. As soon as he finished speaking, Luo Lan got into the car and left in a very arrogant manner, leaving only Ren Xiaosu and the other 6. Tang Zhou said behind Luo Lan, I will send someone to deliver your resident ID cards and enrollment documents tonight, don't worry. At this time, Yan Luoyun had already rushed into the shop with great interest. It can be seen that this shop used to be a Chinese medicine clinic. It was still operating normally before Ren Xiaosu and the others came. When the people from the Qing group withdrew, they did not take anything here. Tables, chairs, benches, and Chinese medicines were all available. Luo Lan gave them this shop because he knew that Ren Xiaosu was once the only doctor in the town, so he thought that Ren Xiaosu might want to reopen a clinic or something. Ren Xiaosu was more melancholy. He had no medical skills. Chapter 134 Where is the senior brother? The shop that the Qing Consortium gave Ren Xiaosu is called Hong Kaodang. When Wang Fuge said that he wanted to reorder a sign, Ren Xiaosu refused. After all, it would cost money to reorder the sign. Let's discuss what to do next. The back hall of this shop has 5 rooms, a kitchen, 3 bedrooms, and a toilet. After coming to this barrier, Ren Xiaosu didn't know how to use the toilet. The toilets in the market town were all dry toilets, but here you can flush directly, and there is a sewer. It took everyone a long time to figure out how to use this toilet. There was a faucet in the room. At first, no one knew what it was used for, but as soon as it was turned on, transparent water flowed out. This scene made Ren Xiaosu and the others feel very novel. They had never seen such a magical thing before. It seems that the original shop owner used this to drink water. Ren Xiaosu said, "No wonder the people in the barrier are so clean. It turns out that there is no limit on the water in the barrier. In the market town, the amount of water a person uses every day is fixed, and no one can say it. There were some wells in the town, but they were filled with barriers to prevent water theft and waste. 3 bedrooms were allocated, one for Xiaolu, one for Wang Daling and Wang Fuge, and one for Chen Wudi, Yan Luan, and Ren Xiaosu. It was a full house. Although 6 people living here would seem crowded, it was comfortable enough for Ren Xiaosu and his friends. Where did they live before? It was nothing like this. The 6 people moved small stools and sat in the backyard. The first shareholders' meeting began in this simple place. Wang Fuge spoke first. "When we were cleaning up the house just now, several patients came to the store for treatment. They didn't know that the store had changed its owner. It seems that the original business of this store was very good, and the reputation was also good. Why don't we continue to open this store? But who among us knows medical skills?" Ren Xiaosu said unhappily, "Anyway, I don't know. All I have is black medicine. The refugees in the 113 market town really have a hard life. In the past few years, there have been only 2 doctors in this market town, and neither of them knows medical skills. But Ren Xiaosu thinks that he is better than that charlatan Yu Tong. At least his black medicine can really cure external injuries. In fact, he can also learn. After all, there is such a magical existence as the palace. There must be a regular hospital in this barrier, and there must be regular doctors." So Ren Xiaosu found a corresponding doctor at this time to use the skill learning map, and the previous situation will definitely not happen. But Ren Xiaosu is also reflecting on a question. Is it really necessary for him to waste precious skill learning maps on medical skills now? In fact, after meeting Yang Xiaojun and the others, Ren Xiaosu deeply felt that a skill learning map was not enough. He now wished he could save more than 10 skill learning maps, and then when he met Yang Xiaojun again next time, he would learn all the useful skills from her in one go. Moreover, he wanted to learn medicine in order to get thank you coins at first, but later he found that the doctor-patient relationship was too tense, and he could not get any thank you coins for curing diseases and saving lives. Too slow. So if Ren Xiaosu had a skill learning map now, he would not give priority to learning medicine, but planned to save it, and when he met a skill library like Yang Xiaojun, he would use it all at once. By then, he might have a set of excellent skills, such as skipping rubber bands, singing nursery rhymes, playing glass beads, etc. Until today, when he thought of the skill of skipping rubber bands, he still felt resentful. Ren Xiaosu said, "Let's sell the antibiotics you have on hand first to cash in. They will expire after being stored for a long time, right?" "Yes," Wang Fuge nodded, "I think they will be enough to sell for a while. It's too late today. I'll go and exchange Qing's bills for Li's tomorrow. We don't lack money in the near future." "Well, if it doesn't work, we can just do your old business of running a grocery store," Ren Xiaosu said. "But we need a solid product that can be provided for a long time. You see, there are so many Chinese medicines here. Can you mix black medicine?" Wang Fuge's eyes were shining. He could foresee how popular black medicine would be in the barrier. Ren Xiaosu hesitated and said, "Yes, but black medicine cannot be sold in bulk. Let's release it once a week." "That's fine," Wang Fuge said with a smile. "A store must have a unique thing. With this thing, there will be no worries about customers coming." Ren Xiaosu didn't plan to exchange black medicine for money now. After all, he still had so much gold. So compared to money, he hoped to unlock the intermediate form of the weapon. However, the black medicine exchanged for 1 gratitude coin can be divided into 3 small bottles, and 1 small bottle can be sold 5 or 6 times, so Ren Xiaosu can use 1 gratitude coin to last for several months, which is not a big price. Ren Xiaosu decided to go to the fortress tomorrow to see if he could sell the gold bit by bit. At this time, Yan Luan suddenly asked curiously, "Where is Chen Wudi? Have you seen Chen Wudi?" Wang Fuge was stunned for a moment. "That's right, the eldest brother went." "Bah, where did Chen Wudi go?" At this time, Chen Wudi was looking at the streets in the fortress with curiosity. He had been locked up in a mental hospital since he was a child. The dark and depressing environment made him very eager for the outside world. He had lived in this prosperous world, But that was a long ago memory. Everything here made him familiar and unfamiliar. The dazzling shops and goods even made him temporarily forget the important matter of going to the west to obtain the scriptures. Slowly, Chen Wudi walked to the park they passed by during the day, and he heard singing floating out of the park. Chen Wudi walked towards the park and saw a wide square with aunties lined up in a neat formation and dancing. This scene was so familiar and strange that he even felt as if he was dreaming of the past. Chen Wudi was a little trance. The aunties just watched Chen Wudi walk to the front of their formation with a dignified manner. Before they could react, they saw the young man staring at them with sparkling eyes and shouted, "Children, practice." That night, when Chen Wudi returned to the store, his face was bruised and swollen. When Ren Xiaosu saw him, he was shocked. Chen Wudi was a player who was not hurt by bullets. Who beat him up like this? Exclamation mark. Is there any master hidden in this barrier? But no matter how Ren Xiaosu asked Chen Wudi didn't say what happened. Chapter 135 Meet Yang Xiaojun again. The school that the Qing group arranged for Jiang Wu and Ren Xiaosu is called Barrier Number 13 Middle School, with a full name of 109 Barrier Number 13 Middle School. When Ren Xiaosu heard this name, his first reaction was, how big is this barrier? There are 13 middle schools. No, definitely more than 13. In the documents that the Qing group gave him, there were letters of recommendation, resident ID cards, basic student information such as the age of admission, and Tang Zhou said that only after he reported, the school would officially create a file for him. Yan Liwen and Wang Dalin were in the third year of junior high school, and Ren Xiaosu was in the third year of high school. When Tang Zhou talked about this, he also asked Ren Xiaosu for his opinion, asking him if he could keep up with the progress of learning. After all, what can he learn in the town school? Don't sit in the classroom and don't understand anything, that would be embarrassing. However, Ren Xiaosu sneered. How could Tang Zhou guess that such a studious person like him was not someone that Tang Zhou could guess? After hearing what Ren Xiaosu said, Tang Zhou kept silent. In fact, although Ren Xiaosu and Luo Lan had disgusted each other, the brief experience of living and dying together still made them closer. So although they said that they didn't owe each other anything, Tang Zhou still cared about Ren Xiaosu and the others. If it weren't for Ren Xiaosu, Tang Zhou would have died in the wilderness. According to Tang Zhou, there is a university in the 109th barrier, and even some students from other barriers would try to get in. But Ren Xiaosu thought that was when the wilderness was safe. Now few people dare to leave the barrier. When Ren Xiaosu said this, Wang Fuge was happy. He said that when he was young, there were no large wild beasts or wolves in the wilderness, but there were refugees who became bandits and killed people. But even so, there were still people who took the risk to cross the wilderness between the barriers. Sometimes he couldn't understand what those people were thinking. Maybe they were really brave, or maybe they were not smart, but there was never a shortage of such people. Ren Xiaosu was not in a hurry to take Yan Liwen and Wang Dalin to go through the enrollment procedures. He planned to take everyone to visit the barrier the next morning after washing up. The 6 people in the team were also unfamiliar with the barrier. Instead of rushing to make money, it would be better to see what this place they had longed for so many years looks like. The next morning, Yan Liwen suddenly shouted in the front yard, "Brother, come and see, there is a note here." Ren Xiaosu was stunned for a moment and hurried over. Since yesterday, he always felt that something was wrong. First, he saw a familiar figure on the road, and then he always felt that someone was staring at him vaguely. The feeling of being stared at made him instinctively uncomfortable. First, a note appeared inexplicably, maybe it could give him some answers. Ren Xiaosu took the note from Yan Liwen and saw a line of small words on the note. It is not advisable to stay in a troubled place for a long time. Brother, what does this note mean? Yan Liwen asked curiously. Who wrote it? Where did you find this note? Ren Xiaosu asked curiously. Yan Liwen pointed at the door. It's right under the crack of the door. It looks like someone stuffed it in last night. Is it a prank? No, Ren Xiaosu shook his head. He was sure it wasn't a prank. Because, he knew the handwriting on the note. On his way back to the fortress from Jingshan, he saw a line of beautiful small characters in the cave. At that time, Ren Xiaosu knew that the characters must have been left by Yang Xiaojun. And now the handwriting on the note is very similar to that on the cave. Combined with the familiar figure he found yesterday, Ren Xiaosu finally confirmed that Yang Xiaojin really came to the 109th fortress, and this note was also stuffed by Yang Xiaojin to him. Could it be that something big is going to happen in the 109th fortress? The other party actually wants to persuade him to leave? Ren Xiaosu knew very well that there must be a powerful organization behind Yang Xiaojin supporting her behavior, so the other party came here, probably because they really knew something and had a specific goal. Is it to assassinate Luo Lan? After all, Yang Xiaojin had assassinated Qing Zhen, so it made sense for her to assassinate Luo Lan this time. But this didn't make sense. Luo Lan didn't have so many soldiers and masters around her now, so it didn't seem difficult to kill Luo Lan. If Luo Lan was really her target, then Fatty Luo would have been dead yesterday. Ren Xiaosu wondered why Yang Xiaojin came to remind him. When Yang Xiaojin left, she even stole the dagger again. He didn't believe that Yang Xiaojin could be so kind. But Yang Xiaojin probably didn't know that Ren Xiaosu had returned to the cave, so she didn't know that the note he quietly slipped in had already exposed her identity. Things in this world are just so coincidental. But where can he go now if he leaves here? Ren Xiaosu was a little melancholy. He had just entered the barrier and didn't even know the name of the road in front of the door. He was going to leave? The key was that he couldn't get out either. Ren Xiaosu was thinking that Luo Zinayu's ability might be able to ignore the walls of the barrier, so he could bring Yang Xiaojin directly in. But how could Ren Xiaosu enter and leave the barrier? Don't think about it for now, Ren Xiaosu said to Yan Liwen. Don't tell Lao Wang and Sister Xiao about this in advance, so as to avoid them worrying too much? Yes, Yan Liwen nodded. Do you need to catch up on your sleep? Ren Xiaosu asked. No, Yan Liwen shook his head. I slept well. Last night, even when they arrived at the barrier, Ren Xiaosu and Yan Liwen still kept the habit of keeping watch. It's not that they think there are hidden dangers around them, but they have long been accustomed to it. If the people in the barrier knew about this, they would probably laugh at them for not having seen the world. There are indeed some thieves in the barrier, and occasionally someone would go to remote places to rob in the middle of the night, but that is a very small number, and there is no need for someone to keep watch. The barrier is different from the wilderness. In the morning, Wang Fuge went to exchange Qing's bills first. He went to the foreign exchange window of Li's bank for consultation. As a result, he found out that it would cost a 23% handling fee to exchange it. Ren Xiaosu advised him not to exchange so much. What if he had to exchange barriers one day? Would the handling fee be a waste of money? Wang Fuge was a little nervous when he heard this. Xiaosu, do you think we will exchange barriers in the future? Where can we exchange them? I didn't say for sure, Ren Xiaosu said with a smile, but we are not short of big money now. Just exchange some change and save the rest. At this time, Ren Xiaosu already had a hunch that maybe one day in the future, they might really leave here and rush to the next strange barrier again. And now, he is actually more curious about why Yang Xiaojin and Luo Zinayu came to the 109th barrier. I don't know if there is a chance to learn the skills of Yang Xiaojin this time. I miss all the stupid netizens so much. This chapter said that I will update it in advance today. In addition, I hope that everyone will not go to other people's book review area to provoke a fight because the monthly votes have been exploded. The king has only started to work hard in the 3rd month. This is nothing. It is a normal competition. Everyone, read the book carefully. If you think it is exciting, vote. If it is not exciting, don't vote. Make reading a little simpler. If someone comes to our book review area to cause trouble, I will ban him and then we will all criticize him together. I wish everyone a happy Dragon Boat Festival. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelist. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 136 Pollution. The tram was humming along in the rampart. Ren Xiaosu had ridden in a tram before, but it was the first time he had seen this kind of public bus. Everyone only needed to put 2 dimes in the box at the entrance when getting on the bus, and they could ride to a very far place, even from the starting station to the terminal station. Wang Fuge had heard of trams a long time ago. After all, he had dealt with people in the ramparts before, and he would always talk about the new and interesting things in the ramparts. So when Ren Xiaosu said he wanted to tour the ramparts, Wang Fuga said that trams were the most convenient and cost-effective means of transportation. Brother, Yan Liwen said while leaning on the window, people in this barrier will definitely not have such things as worries. Life is so convenient and safe. They only need to do some easy work in the barrier, and they can enjoy a life hundreds of times better than that of refugees. How can people not have worries? Ren Xiaosu sat next to him and smiled. Even Luolan will have worries. This kind of thing will not decrease with the increase of material foundation. That's right, Yan Liwen nodded. Then do you think there is such a kind of person in the world who has no worries at all? Ren Xiaosu said, yes, dead people. Yan Liwen slowly turned his head and looked at Ren Xiaosu. On such a festive day, brother, do you think this is appropriate? Even a fool like Chen Wudi has worries, Ren Xiaosu sighed. At this time, Chen Wudi was sitting in the last row, and his face was still swollen. I don't know where he went yesterday, and who beat him up. On both sides of the streets of this barrier city, there are shops selling breakfast dumplings, tofu pudding and the like, as well as hardware and groceries, with a dazzling array of things. There were pedestrians on the sidewalks beside the street, and occasionally people riding bicycles would shuttle quickly on the street. Ren Xiaosu asked curiously, how much does a bicycle cost in the barrier? It seems that this thing is quite convenient for transportation. In the past, there was also a squire in the market town who bought a bicycle circulated in the barrier, but it was stolen at night. In order to escape the pursuit of the squire, the thief rode the bicycle to other barriers. Bicycles are luxury goods in the market town, the kind that you can't buy even if you want to. I'll go ask in the afternoon, Wang Fuga said. It shouldn't be cheap. After all, resources are so scarce now. Look at those people riding bicycles. They are dressed more neatly. It seems that they should be relatively wealthy in the barrier. I should have asked Jiang Wu more on the way, Ren Xiaosu said regretfully. They had never been to the barrier, but Jiang Wu grew up in the barrier. But now Jiang Wu has reported to the school to continue to be a teacher, and should also be in Barrier 13. On the way, Ren Xiaosu heard someone around him discussing something. Have you heard that Barrier 113 has been abandoned? It is said that the previous earthquake directly collapsed Barrier 113, and even the people from the Qing group fled to our barrier. Is it true? Someone asked in surprise. The radio news didn't mention this. The radio will definitely not tell you, the man said with a smile, but I have a friend who has a cooperative relationship with the Qing group. He told me that the big shots of the Qing group had already arrived at our barrier yesterday, and they said that they brought in dozens of refugees. Refugees? Another person asked in surprise, why do refugees come in instead of working outside? Ren Xiaosu glanced at them and said nothing. He only heard another person say, who knows? I don't know if they will bring in diseases, bacteria, and pollution from outside. Look at the people behind us, they seem to be those refugees. Someone said in surprise. After being reminded, the other people in the car turned around and looked at them, and then the more everyone looked, the more they felt that Ren Xiaosu and his friends might really be refugees. Then Yan Liwen was surprised to see that all these people got off the train at the next stop. After just one stop, they were the only ones left on the train. If the driver hadn't been about to drive, Yan Liwen felt that the driver would have gotten off the train. Ren Xiaosu looked at the six of them. Today, they all changed into washed clothes, and everyone also boiled water to take a bath, so their faces and bodies were no longer dirty. But the problem is that the styles of clothes that refugees can buy, or the skin of refugees exposed to the sun, are very different. Brother, Yan Liwen whispered, I feel that the people in the barrier are not friendly at all. No one even came to ask about these people in the barrier. They just guessed that they were refugees, and they all avoided them as if they were avoiding the plague. It was just because they might carry germs from outside, because the barrier had taught them since they were young, that the reason refugees could not come in was because they were contaminated. Ren Xiaosu did not reply. He just said calmly, Sister Xiaoyu, go buy 2 new sets of clothes for each of us tomorrow. Let's put on the new clothes and look more like people from the barrier. I won't wear it, Yan Liwen said in a low voice, as if putting on the new clothes would mean bowing to those people from the barrier. Ren Xiaosu said, whether in the wilderness or in the barrier, if you want to survive, you must first integrate and understand, and then have the ability to resist. When you can't change the environment, you must first learn to disguise yourself. Wang Fuga was stunned when he heard this. He didn't expect Ren Xiaosu to apply his theory that was applicable to the wilderness to the barrier. So was he treating the barrier as a place like the wilderness? Ren Xiaosu continued, maybe one day we will leave the barrier. Let's be prepared. Yan Liu's eyes lit up when he heard this. He knew Ren Xiaosu best and he could already hear that Ren Xiaosu had already decided to leave. Wang Fuga smiled and said, why don't we leave tomorrow? I don't know why, but I always feel that life in the market town is more comfortable. No hurry. Ren Xiaosu shook his head and said, we can't get out now. I'll find a chance. At this time, the vehicle arrived at the terminal. Ren Xiaosu and his friends planned to take the vehicle back the same way. As a result, everyone saw that there were many single-family houses with small courtyards in front of the terminal. From a distance, this area seemed to be quite large, but it was much quieter than other places. At this time, Ren Xiaosu grabbed the tram driver and asked, what is this place? This is the rich area of our fortress, the driver said, only rich and powerful people can live there. There is no tram line inside because everyone who lives here has a private car. While speaking, the driver was shrinking back, for fear of getting too close to Ren Xiaosu. Chapter 137 Su Xianchu is here. Originally, the driver wanted to reprimand Xiaosu and ask him to stay away from him, but for some reason, he immediately became timid when he met Ren Xiaosu's eyes. Oh, thank you, Ren Xiaosu nodded. He looked at the rich area. It turned out that this barrier was divided into poor areas and rich areas. It seemed that the difference between the rich and the poor in this barrier was also very obvious. When Ren Xiaosu said thank you, the tram driver was stunned for a moment. It seemed that the other party had long regarded Ren Xiaosu and his friends as a scourge, but he didn't expect Ren Xiaosu to be polite and thank him. Before he could react, Ren Xiaosu had already said to the driver, when will this tram return? The driver said in embarrassment, why don't you take the next bus? The next one will be here in 20 minutes. Ren Xiaosu looked at the driver, your decision is very irrational. The driver, Passengers, please sit tight and hold on. On the way back, Ren Xiaosu got off the bus early not far from their store because he saw a gold shop. After he confirmed that no one was following him, he pretended to be calm and walked into the gold shop. As soon as he entered the door, he found a wanted poster posted inside the gold shop. Ren Xiaosu was stunned when he saw the wanted poster. Wasn't the person on the wanted poster Su Xianchu? In the photo, Su Xianchu was wearing a private army uniform. It seemed that this was a work photo of Su Xianchu when he was working at the barrier. Boss, who is on this wanted poster? Ren Xiaosu asked. I don't know. The people from the barrier order department just posted it today, the gold shop owner said. They just said that if you see this person, you must report it to them immediately, and they also gave a reward. I haven't seen it posted anywhere else. Why is it posted in the gold shop? Ren Xiaosu's heart tightened. I heard that it was because the gold of the Qing Consortium was stolen. I don't know the details. The order department has been strictly investigating all unknown sources of gold recently. As long as it is not marked with the consortium's logo and is oxidized, you must report it to the order department immediately if you see it, the gold shop owner said. Are you okay? Nothing. Ren Xiaosu immediately walked out of the gold shop. At this moment, Ren Xiaosu felt very sad. He realized that the Qing Consortium might have noticed that he still had a lot of gold on him. Although he put down the gold wrapped in his coat at that time, as long as someone from the Qing Consortium checked the missing gold on the counter of the gold shop, they would immediately find that the number was not right, and there was a lot less. Because the gold was covered with dust, once the gold was taken away, the traces on the counter would be particularly obvious. Ren Xiaosu did not take any chances. He knew that since the Qing Consortium posted photos in the gold shop, they must have discovered something. This was to find his traces directly at the source of the stolen goods. No, it was to find Su Xianchu. At this moment, Su Xianchu had just arrived at the market town outside the 111 barrier. He had been running for many days and finally arrived here before he starved to death. Along the way, Su Xianchu used Shadow to travel whenever he was in good condition. Although Shadow saved energy when running, he almost vomited on Shadow's back. And the most important thing was that after Ren Xiaosu was gone, he could not find suitable food on the wilderness and could only eat wild vegetables. During this period, he had diarrhea for a day. Fortunately, he is a superhuman, and now his physical fitness is strong enough that a little poisonous wild vegetable can't kill him. At this moment, Su Xianchu is most looking forward to returning to human civilization to find something to eat. These 2 days, he thinks that stones look like steamed buns. However, as soon as he walked to the intersection of the market town, he felt that several eyes were focused on him. Su Xianchu walked to a shack and said, "Hello, do you have anything to eat? I can pay for it." Su Xianchu saw a few steamed buns in the shack and swallowed his saliva. The man of that family came out and looked at Su Xianchu. "You are not from our market town, you look a little unfamiliar." "Ahem, just passing by," Su Xianchu explained. He thought to himself that his face was so dark now, and others should not be able to recognize him. As a result, when the refugee looked at Su Xianchu, he seemed to suddenly discover something and shouted, "Su Xianchu! Su Xianchu is here, everyone hurry up!" Su Xianchu. On the way to the 111 fortress, Su Xianchu was actually very hesitant. After all, the 111 fortress was the headquarters of the Qing group, but he thought it would be okay if he just stayed in the market town for a while. But at this moment, Su Xianchu knew he was wrong. The Qing group must have issued a warrant for his arrest, otherwise these refugees would not have arrested him like they are now. But he didn't do anything. At the beginning in Jingshan, he didn't even enter the blockade. What was the purpose of arresting him at such a costly cost? Of course, Su Xianchu was still worried about Ren Xiaosu and Yang Xiaojin. They mobilized so many troops to capture him, a person who had not entered the blockade. It was conceivable that the momentum of capturing Yang Xiaojin and Ren Xiaosu would be so huge. In an instant, Su Xianchu did not hesitate anymore. He summoned the shadow to kick the refugees in front of him away. He rushed into the shack, put the black steamed bread in his arms and turned around and ran. It is not suitable to stay here for a long time. It seems that he can only go somewhere else now, preferably a place that is not controlled by the Qing group. Su Xianchu thought about it and suddenly felt that the 109 barriers controlled by the Li group seemed to be his best choice. At this time, a huge convoy roared from a distance. Su Xianchu had already laid on the back of the shadow before the refugees arrived. The strong shadow suddenly accelerated and ran towards the depths of the wilderness. The refugees stopped when they saw this scene. This was probably the first time they saw a supernatural person with their own eyes. The convoy coming from the wilderness in the distance began to slow down after arriving at the market town. Qingzhen in the car was covered in dust. If there were no people from the consortium outside Jingshan to pick him up, he didn't know when he could return to Barrier 111. Qingzhen frowned when he saw the chaos in the market town and said, "Su Man, ask them what they are doing." They were still far away, so they didn't see what was going on here. Su Man lowered the car window and looked at a refugee. "What happened?" A refugee walked over respectfully and said, "We just found Su Xianchu." Qingzhen in the back seat sat up straight. "Su Xianchu? Where?" The refugee pointed in the direction Su Xianchu fled and said, "He ran into the wilderness." Send someone to catch him," Qingzhen said. "Let the special operations sequence go. They have more experience in the wilderness than Su Xianchu." "Boss," Su Man said in embarrassment, "you will be under house arrest soon." Qingzhen, "What direction is that?" Su Man thought for a while. "Boss, that should be Barrier 109. Call Luolan." Qingzhen gritted his teeth and said, "If Su Xianchu shows up near Barrier 109, he must be caught." Chapter 138, Fame and Fortune. Qingzhen never expected that he would miss Su Xianchu just because he came back so late. However, he was not a person who could not let go. Since he missed it, it was not worth regretting. "Enter the barrier," Qingzhen said calmly. In fact, what he should care about most now was not Su Xianchu, but how the old men in the Qing consortium would punish him. In other words, how the other party planned to undermine his power. Many people in the outside world thought that Qingzhen was in power in the Qing consortium, but he only controlled a part of the combat sequence. Because Qingzhen was basically the one who handled external affairs, it gave the outside world a feeling that Qingzhen was in the limelight. Only Qingzhen clearly understood in his heart that the old men had never trusted him. The shadows in the consortium have been replaced one after another, and only those faces are the core of the Qing consortium that the old men care about. According to the saying that circulated in the Qing consortium, violence is only a means to maintain order, but it can never become the order itself. In short, shadows can only be shadows and cannot be on the stage. Now that Qingzhen has become the most popular person in the fight against Spark Company, the old men have long wanted to suppress his arrogance, so house arrest and decentralization have become a matter of course. Su Man said softly, "Boss, we will report to the operations department tomorrow. Probably all of us will be dispersed to other combat units." "Well," Qingzhen nodded nonchalantly, "go. Do you have anything else to say?" Su Man asked, "Why don't you get off the car and say a few words to the soldiers, or we will go to the wilderness with you. There are so many of us, some of us have guns, and we can do anything." Qingzhen smiled and shook his head. "How many people are waiting to go home to reunite with their wives and children, but you told them to go to the wilderness to make a living?" "They are willing," Su Man said. Qingzhen opened the car door, and when he got off the car, all the soldiers in the troop transport convoy behind him got off the car. There were thousands of people, and they filled the town in an instant. The refugees all ran away in panic. "Everyone," Qingzhen looked at the soldiers in front of him and said calmly, "go to other combat units and perform well. Don't embarrass me." Just as Qingzhen's voice fell, thousands of people stood up at the same time. Yes. At this moment, the soldiers understood what fate they would face. "Get in the car," Qingzhen said and got in the car casually. The city defense troops on the rampart were a little frightened to see this scene. It seems that none of the commanders of the combat units of the Qing group have the influence of Qingzhen. After entering the rampart, Qingzhen returned to his single-family villa. He took a shower and changed into a new white suit. As for the old one, he had it burned directly. As soon as they entered the rampart, some bigwigs of the Qing group could not wait to take over his combat command. The thousands of soldiers were taken away by the bigwigs according to the list and divided up completely. The soldiers under Qingzhen were all brave and experienced warriors. Now they have the opportunity to divide up this unit, and no one will miss this opportunity. But Qingzhen didn't seem to care about anything. After Qingzhen washed up, he walked out of the door. The special car parked at the door had already driven away. He smiled and said, "They didn't even leave a car for us." He walked outside, but the two soldiers on guard looked at him in embarrassment and said, "Boss Qing, you can't leave the house. Don't make it difficult for us." Qingzhen raised his eyebrows and said, "The old men said that we are not allowed to leave the 111 fortress. When did they say that we can't even leave the house? Did someone forge an imperial decree? Don't worry, I'm just going to listen to a song. Who in this 111 fortress doesn't know that I, Qingzhen, like to listen to music?" The two soldiers looked at each other. When did they go to listen to music? Did the famous boss Qing worry about his situation at all? But the soldiers didn't get out of the way. Qingzhen didn't say anything. At this moment, a bullet shot from an unknown direction and hit the stone road in front of the two soldiers. There was actually a hidden gunman nearby protecting Qingzhen. The two soldiers knew that the other party was showing mercy. Even if the gunman had just shot them to death, the Presidium would not impose additional punishment on Qingzhen for such a small matter. It was the time of the handover of the combat troops, and no one would cause trouble. Qingzhen still looked at the two of them calmly, and the soldiers retreated decisively. "Thank you, Boss Qing, for showing mercy. Okay, no one will embarrass you." Qingzhen chuckled and walked out. The two soldiers couldn't help but ponder behind Qingzhen. Earlier, everyone had said that Qingzhen had a lot of cards around him, but they didn't expect it to be true. But didn't the Presidium sideline Qingzhen? How could anyone willingly follow a person who had lost his power? Qingzhen was heard humming a song happily and walking towards the prosperous part of the city. A soldier waited until he walked away before asking, "What is Boss Qing singing?" "I don't know, we don't have money to listen to the song." Another soldier was not sure. At night, Qingzhen sat alone in a theater. Everyone else was afraid of him like poison. They left early when they saw him coming. Only Qingzhen watched the actresses on the stage change one after another. He supported his head with one hand. The more wine he drank, the brighter his eyes became. In this theater, only the gentle and sad songs were left, floating in the neon lights. Three-way intersection, crossroad, how many days and nights have you been going north and south? In the morning, I saw people coming in a grand manner, and in the evening, I saw people going back to their cars in silence. In the past and present, fame and fortune have been lost, and there are flowing water in the short pavilion and trees in the long pavilion. At this time, someone came behind him and said, "Qingzhen, the Presidium has something to discuss and wants you to attend." Qing Zhen smiled and said, "Tell them, I won't go." On the way back to the store from the gold shop, Ren Xiaosu had been thinking about his future plans. It was no longer possible to sell gold now. He might be targeted by someone in a minute. So he couldn't cash in a large amount of gold in his hands, which made him anxious. Originally, Ren Xiaosu was not enthusiastic about opening a shop because he had gold in his hands. Now, of course, he had to reconsider the business of the shop. He couldn't really rely on the subsidies given by the school to make a living. Selling black medicine? Ren Xiaosu didn't want to do this. After all, it was harder to get gratitude points than to get money. As he was walking, he looked up and saw that he had arrived in front of the store. As soon as he entered the door, he saw Wang Fuge selling something to a man with a mysterious look on his face. When Ren Xiaosu walked closer, he saw that he was selling black medicine. From Wang Fuge's expression, it was obvious that the other party was not introducing the serious effects of black medicine, and the middle-aged man also looked frivolous. Ren Xiaosu was a little melancholy. Was he destined to be a medicine seller? Thanks to Qing Yui and Deng Hongren Jiang Chao for becoming new allies in this book. Today's recommended book, Historical Mr. Zhao, the protagonist travels through the late Warring States period. Chapter 139 Fire. The Medicine Seller. This title usually appears in a very informal context. Ren Xiaosu was a little unwilling. How could such a young and promising extraordinary person bear such a heavy title? Just as he said, after being called a medicine seller, the social status will plummet. At this time, a man walked in. "Doctor, let me see what's wrong with me. My stomach has been uncomfortable." Ren Xiaosu refused without thinking. "We won't see doctors anymore." As a result, the man was not happy. "You are a clinic. How can you not treat people? Do you know who I am?" Ren Xiaosu was not happy either. Why are the people in this barrier so rude? They show off their identities as soon as they open their mouths. As if he lived in his identity, he glanced at the man. "Who are you?" "I am Yan Linfeng from Zicheng district. Go and ask around," the man said arrogantly. Suddenly, Ren Xiaosu heard the long-lost voice from the palace. "Mission, cure illness and save lives." Ren Xiaosu looked at Yan Linfeng with a smile. "Come on, tell me what disease you have." Yan Linfeng was stunned for a moment. Is his name so useful? He took back the anger he was about to get. "My stomach is uncomfortable, a little painful." "Old Wang, prescribe him 3 antibiotics," Ren Xiaosu said with a smile. "You have gastritis, take some medicine and it will be fine." "Really?" Yan Linfeng was skeptical. "Really?" Ren Xiaosu said firmly. "No matter whether it is true or not, completing the mission is the most important thing. The palace has not issued any missions for more than 10 days, and today is a good start." When the man took the medicine, the palace said, "Mission completed, reward basic level skill learning map." Ren Xiaosu's eyes lit up. "It's done." Yan Linfeng took the medicine and paid for it and said, "Then is there anything to avoid?" "Don't eat bitter melon," Ren Xiaosu said absent-mindedly while looking at the map in the palace. "Why don't you eat bitter melon?" Yan Linfeng was stunned. Ren Xiaosu, "Because it doesn't taste good." Yan Linfeng. Wang Fuge sent Yan Linfeng away, and then Ren Xiaosu looked up and asked, "Only these 2 customers came today?" "Not really, but we don't know how to cure diseases and save lives, so we let them go," Wang Fuge said with a smile. He took out a piece of red paper from under the counter. "By the way, this is a flyer someone handed out, take a look." "What is it?" Ren Xiaosu took it in confusion, but he was stunned as soon as he saw it, because the logo of the fire company was printed on the top of the flyer. The logo of the fire company is a small flame, just like the fire that represents the survival of civilization. Ren Xiaosu became serious. Could it be that the fire company also has some business in the 109th barrier? Since he came out of Jingshan, one of the organizations he was most curious about was the fire company. Until now, he could only guess about this company based on Yang Xiaojin's words, but for some reason, Ren Xiaosu was always wary of this company. Maybe it was just because Yang Xiaojin revealed a hostile attitude when describing the fire company, and he was influenced by Yang Xiaojin. From now on, extraordinary people can come to our company to donate blood for a fee. Your blood will be used by our company for research in the future, and you will also contribute to the progress of mankind. And you only need to donate 200 cc of blood to get 1,000,000 yuan in remuneration. Our company will keep your private information confidential and can protect you. For details, Please consult. Followed by a string of numbers. According to Yang Xiaojun, this fire company controls a place similar to Jingshan, and there is no volcano there, and it is very well preserved. Now all barriers are more or less hostile to the extraordinary, but the fire company has begun to purchase blood from the extraordinary, and even openly proposed to protect the extraordinary. Wang Fuge looked at Ren Xiaosu and said with a smile, "How about you give it a try?" Yan Luiyun came over to take a look at the flyer. "Uncle Fuge, there must be something wrong with this company. My brother can't go." That's right, Wang Fuge understood immediately. Zhang Baojun and Chen Wudi were both tragic cases they had witnessed with their own eyes. Who can guarantee that the fire company has good intentions? Even if the fire company really has good intentions, who can guarantee how well they keep it secret? Therefore, he would rather not make the money than see Ren Xiaosu risk his life. However, Wang Fuge found that Yan Luiyun, a child, could have such a clear understanding. Ren Xiaosu took the flyer in his hand and tried to see if there was anything fishy in it. In fact, Wang Fuge and Yan Luiyun still didn't know enough about this world. Take those terrible experimental subjects. Did they volunteer to be experimental subjects? Not necessarily. The Spark Company wanted the blood of the extraordinary people, and it must want the genetic data carried in it. This company is very ambitious and wants to collect the blood of all the extraordinary people in the world for research. But Ren Xiaosu didn't think it was a good thing. He called Chen Wudi to tell him that he must not use his extraordinary abilities without permission. For this reason, Ren Xiaosu even threatened Chen Wudi with a tight hoop curse, and finally forced Chen Wudi to agree. "I didn't expect the tight hoop curse to be quite useful," Ren Xiaosu said with emotion. Wang Fuge said regretfully, "But it feels a pity to give up such a high reward. For him, making money is his lifelong livelihood. It is really hard not to be tempted when he sees so much money for the first time. Of course, he also knows what is more important." At this time, Yan Luiyun's eyes suddenly lit up. "This Spark Company is so rich, why don't we make a fortune from it?" Ren Xiaosu kicked Yan Luiyun on the butt. "Get out, pack your things, and get ready to go to school with me tomorrow." "Oh." Yan Luiyun agreed. Ren Xiaosu glanced at Yan Luiyun. This kid grew up in a bad environment like a market town. Someone had to teach him right and wrong all the time. At this time, Ren Xiaosu noticed a string of numbers on the back of the leaflet. What does this number mean? Is it a code? This should be a phone number, Wang Fuge said with a smile. "I've heard that every barrier has a telephone network. A person can chat with another person dozens of kilometers away. We also have a landline in our store, but we haven't figured out how to use it. After a group of refugees arrived here, they had to figure out everything by themselves." Ren Xiaosu wondered if he should ask Zhang Wu to come and give everyone a lesson so that everyone could have a better understanding of the barriers. "Let's try that phone," Yan Luiyun said excitedly. At his age, he was interested in all new things. Chapter 140, Leave a Way Out. A bunch of people gathered around the magical landline phone. Even Sister Xiaoyu came to join in the fun. "How do I use this thing?" Ren Xiaosu asked curiously. There were a bunch of digital buttons on the phone, but there was no operating instructions for this thing. "Look at the string of numbers on the promotional leaflet of the fire company." Wang Fuge pointed at the leaflet and said, "Do we just need to dial them in order?" "It should be." "Try it," Ren Xiaosu said. "Luiyun, you try it." Everyone was curious about this new thing, but Ren Xiaosu still took care of Yan Luiyun and let him play first. Yan Luiyun dialed a string of numbers under the expectant eyes of everyone. They certainly couldn't try the number of the fire company, so they could only try randomly. As a result, there was no response after dialing. Yan Luiyun looked up at Ren Xiaosu. "Brother, no response." "Let me think about it," Ren Xiaosu said. "It should be our operation error. You see, the number on the Huazhan company's single page is an 8-digit number, so we have to dial an 8-digit number." As a result, Chen Wudi came out from the backyard and saw a lot of people. He asked curiously, "Master, what are you doing?" Ren Xiaosu's eyes lit up. "Come on, apprentice, do you think you can use this?" Although Chen Wudi lives in a mental hospital, he still knows some basic operations, right? "I don't know if there is such a thing as a phone in a mental hospital." "Let me see." Chen Wudi took a look. "This is a phone." Chen Wudi picked up the receiver on the phone directly. Ren Xiaosu and the others realized that the receiver had to be picked up. Chen Wudi dialed a random number. After a few beeps, a voice came from the microphone. "Who is it?" Chen Wuti was full of momentum. I am the Monkey King. Psychopath. With a snap, the other party hung up the phone. Ren Xiaosu smacked his lips. The other party could actually accurately identify Chen Wuti's essential attributes through the phone. The phone was really magical. Chen Wuti was so angry that he wanted to call back and curse, but he even forgot what number he had just dialed. Come on, Lin Wen, try it too, Ren Xiaosu said with a smile. Yan Lin dialed the number with great expectation. After 2 beeps, someone picked up the phone and a middle-aged man's voice came out. Who is it? At this moment, Yan Lin felt like he had opened the door to a new world. He said politely, "Hello, uncle." The person on the other end of the phone was stunned for a moment. Who are you? What's the matter? Nothing, just call and try, Yan Lin said truthfully. I just learned how to use the phone. Sorry to bother you. Yet, nothing. The other party hung up the phone. Yan Lin held the receiver in his hand and looked up at Ren Xiaosu and said, "Brother, this phone is really magical. The person on the phone is just like the person on the other side." Yet, Ren Xiaosu nodded. Don't try again. It's not good to disturb others. However, at this moment, the phone suddenly rang. Ren Xiaosu was stunned for a moment and picked up the phone. Hello. The person on the other end of the phone said, "Do you need a small loan?" The other party said a lot of things, which made Ren Xiaosu and the others stunned. They just couldn't understand what the other party said. Ren Xiaosu hesitated and said, "I don't understand what you mean." The other party was silent for 2 seconds. "I can lend you money." "How much interest?" Ren Xiaosu asked after a pause. 3% interest, the other party said. Ren Xiaosu was amused. Isn't this just usury? The person on the other end of the phone suddenly shouted to someone unknown, "Brother, some people say we are usury." Someone else answered the phone, "Young man, don't say anything nonsense, we are not usury." Ren Xiaosu is so amused. Isn't a 3% interest rate just usury? Among all the businessmen, you loan sharks are the most unscrupulous. To be honest, Ren Xiaosu thought everyone in the barrier lived and worked in peace and contentment, but now it seems that there are some unclean industries. The person on the phone lowered his voice. "Do you know who I am?" Ren Xiaosu was wondering why this voice sounded so familiar. Where had he heard this voice before? He asked back, "Do you know who I am?" The other party was stunned. "Who are you?" Ren Xiaosu said, "I am Yan Linfeng from Zicheng district." After a short silence on the phone, the other party said, "I am also Yan Linfeng from Zicheng district." Ren Xiaosu. It turns out that not everyone likes to introduce themselves, but the people he met who introduced themselves were all Yan Linfeng. No wonder the voice sounded a little familiar. Ren Xiaosu hung up the phone with a click. When Yan Linfeng came to see the doctor before, Ren Xiaosu didn't like him a little. He thought he would give a name to let these two fight, but he never expected that he would meet the same person by such a coincidence. But Yan Linfeng shouldn't know who is calling now, right? Even if he knew, Ren Xiaosu wouldn't be afraid of him. Ren Xiaosu knew before that guns were banned in this barrier. In the entire barrier, except for the army of the Li group, Ren Xiaosu really had no fear of anyone. "Actually, we should deal with local tyrants like this," Wang Fuga said. "It seems that Yan Linfeng is in the gray industry and has some people under him. I think no matter where I go, it will be helpful to know some such people." "Well," Ren Xiaosu nodded, "if he comes to see a doctor next time, you can talk to him more." "Okay," Wang Fuga agreed. "The effect of our black medicine should be spread after tonight, and we don't need to advertise. We can rely entirely on word of mouth to open up the market." Ren Xiaosu was depressed when he heard this. He tore off the flyer of the fire company and said, "As for the fact that Chen Wuti and I are extraordinary people, don't spread it. You also have to keep an eye on Chen Wuti. Don't let him run around outside in the near future to avoid any trouble." He estimated that Luolan would not reveal the fact that Chen Wuti was an extraordinary personability, but he couldn't be sure about Zhang Wu's group of students. He had to be prepared for everything. At this time, Ren Xiaosu recalled the small note that Yang Xiaojun had stuffed in. It seemed that what the other party said was right. The interweaving of multiple forces here did make the 109th barrier a troubled place. He didn't know why this was happening, nor did he know how many other forces were involved. What he could do was to protect Yan Linwen and the others. "Old Wang," Ren Xiaosu said, "I'll make a list for you. Go and see if you can buy these things directly. Remember not to buy them together, but separately. Ren Xiaosu had to prepare a way out for himself. That was something he would only use when he had no choice. When in Jingshan, Ren Xiaosu stole a very critical skill from Yang Xiaojin, advanced bomb making. Chapter 141 In the Name of Justice. The things Ren Xiaosu asked Wang Fuge to prepare were not that difficult to get. Many of them were even daily necessities, but one must be careful when buying them together, because buying these things at the same time might attract some people's attention. After all, it was no secret that these things could be used to make bombs. Wang Fuge went out the next morning, and he did not ask Ren Xiaosu what these things were for. Anyway, if Ren Xiaosu needed them, he would buy them. Now Wang Fuge defines himself as a shopkeeper, and he just needs to do his job conscientiously. Originally, Ren Xiaosu was afraid that Wang Fuge would mess up this matter, but later he found that Wang Fuge was more careful than he thought. Wang Fuge spent a whole day riding the tram to and from the 4 districts of Southeast, Northwest, and Northeast, and purchased all of these things in 4 trips. When Wang Fuge got home in the evening, Ren Xiaosu saw that he was almost exhausted. Sister Xiao had already bought new clothes for Ren Xiaosu and the others, and the admission procedures for Yan Liuan, Ren Xiaosu, and Wang Daling had also been completed. Sister Xiaoyu also helped them find out that Barrier School has 2 holidays every year. They are now in winter and the first half of the semester is almost over. So Ren Xiaosu and the others won't be able to go to school for long. They will probably have to go on vacation. Of course, this also meets Ren Xiaosu's needs. At the beginning, it is an adaptation stage, and having a holiday is also a buffer. Finally, he has to go to school. Ren Xiaosu suddenly looks forward to it. He doesn't know if the things taught by Barrier School are the same as those taught by Mr. Zhang. After dinner, Wang Fuge found Ren Xiaosu and whispered, "When I went to buy these things today, a storekeeper casually said something that made me wonder." "What did he say?" Ren Xiaosu asked. "He said inadvertently, 'Why are you buying these things?'" Wang Fuge said, "I asked him who else bought them. He said a girl went there yesterday. Fortunately, he restocked the stock today, otherwise he might not have anything for me." Ren Xiaosu frowned. He suddenly felt that the girl might be Yang Xiaojin. The 2 people's bomb-making skills are exactly the same, so when they think about making bombs, they probably want to buy the same things. Yang Xiaojin probably didn't expect that Ren Xiaosu was doing exactly the same thing as her. What on earth was Yang Xiaojin going to do? Was this girl trying to blow up the barrier? Of course, it was unrealistic to blow up the barrier with such a small bomb. Ren Xiaosu felt that Yang Xiaojin's target might be the branch of the Spark Company in the 109th barrier. After all, he had always felt that Yang Xiaojin and the Spark Company had some grudges. The next morning, Ren Xiaosu and his friends took the tram to number 13 middle school. While on the tram, he saw some students on the tram. The students were very recognizable because they were all wearing the same blue and white school uniforms. When Tang Zhou gave them the documents, he said that the school uniforms would only be distributed at school because the clothes were distributed according to size. The students that Zhang Wu brought with him had already been distributed, leaving only Ren Xiaosu and the other 3. Now Zhang Wu and his students live in the staff dormitory of number 13 middle school. These students can only rely on their own efforts in the future because they have no parents. However, what Ren Xiaosu did not expect was that these students were particularly united. They had all experienced life and death together. After losing their families, they instinctively regarded these classmates who had shared hardships as their relatives. At this time, Ren Xiaosu heard the students in front of him discussing, "Has anyone told you that there are refugees in the barrier? I heard that someone took a tram with refugees yesterday and got sick when he returned home. My mother said that it was because the refugees brought germs from outside." Another student said, "My father said that if you meet refugees, stay away from them." "I don't think it's that serious," a girl whispered. "Who knows? My mother said that a few years ago, a refugee brought a virus that infected many people and killed dozens of people. Otherwise, why do you think everyone didn't let them enter the barrier?" Hearing this, Ren Xiaosu frowned. How could it spread like this overnight? To be honest, before entering the barrier, Ren Xiaosu really didn't expect that refugees would be so excluded when they entered the barrier. And Ren Xiaosu thought that if they were excluded, it might be because of poverty or something like that. In the end, he didn't expect it to be because of the so-called virus. The market town is not in a quarantine area. Ren Xiaosu is very disdainful of the so-called virus. He has already met many people from the barrier, including Luo Lan, Tang Zhou, Yang Xiaojun, Luo Zinayu, Liu Bu, and the private troops who accompanied him to Jingshan. I haven't seen any of them get sick or die. I don't know who is deliberately spreading the idea of virus transmission, making it seem as if Ren Xiaosu and his friends are huge virus carriers. At this time, Wang Dalin stared at the young lady in the car stupidly, as if the things discussed by others had nothing to do with him. However, Yan Liwen was more sensitive. He frowned and whispered, "Brother, are we really carrying the virus?" "No," Ren Xiaosu shook his head. "Then why do they say that? Should we refute them?" Yan Liwen's good mood when he entered the barrier was destroyed by everything around him. "Refutation is useless," Ren Xiaosu replied. "Why? This is slandering us." Yan Liwen was puzzled. "Liwen, 10 people say that we are not good together. Is it considered slander?" Ren Xiaosu asked. "Yes, of course not," Yan Liwen replied. "If 100 people say we are bad together, does that count as slander?" Ren Xiaosu asked. Count it," Yan Liwen thought for a while and said. "What if 10,000 people say we are bad?" Ren Xiaosu said calmly, "Then it's not slander, but justice." "Brother," Yan Liwen whispered, "although I don't understand as much as you do, even if tens of millions of people slander us, as long as I think it's wrong, it can't be considered justice." Ren Xiaosu smiled. "You're right. These students on the tram were all influenced by their parents. Their parents told them not to be foolish and brave, their parents told them to be more smart in dealing with people, and their parents told them not to play with so-and-so. In fact, the thoughts of students are the continuation of their parents' will, so Ren Xiaosu knew very well at this moment that most of the people in the barrier would not welcome their arrival, but he didn't know whether the situation would get worse. Now Ren Xiaosu didn't have time to care about these things. After learning that Yang Xiaojun might have bought a lot of materials for making bombs, he became more and more curious about what Yang Xiaojun and the others were going to do. And Ren Xiaosu felt that if he had a chance, he'd better find out where Yang Xiaojun put the bomb, so that it wouldn't blow up himself. Thanks to Broken City Hen for becoming a new ally of this book. Today's book recommendation, The End of All Realms Online. I'm also reading this book, and the later plot is very exciting. Chapter 142, Silencing. Now, Yang Xiaojun has come to the 109th barrier, the Qing group has also come, and the Spark Company is buying up the blood of extraordinary people. This almost makes Ren Xiaosu forget that this is actually a barrier controlled by the Li group. Ren Xiaosu is a little curious, what on earth attracted these people, and what will happen in the future? Until now, Ren Xiaosu has only seen a barrier manager named Li Yuan, and no one from the Li group has been seen. Doesn't the Li group know what is happening in the barrier? It's impossible. But why doesn't the Li group come out to manage it? So many forces have gathered here as if they are going to have a social gathering, but your Li group, as the host, seems to have disappeared. At this time, the students on the tram suddenly said, "There are still half a year before the exam, and I don't know if I can get into college." "Haha, anyway, I've given up," said a student who was dressed more casually. His school uniform was loose on his body, and his hair was very long. He also combed his bangs while talking. "My dad said that when I graduate from high school, I will go to his factory and start from the grassroots step by step." "What does your factory produce?" someone asked curiously. The student smiled and said, "We make clothes. 10% of the fabrics shipped in from outside are processed by my family, and many of them will be shipped to other barriers for sale." "That's amazing," the student exclaimed, "but it seems that it's not safe outside the barrier now. Can your clothes still be shipped out?" "It's true that it's not safe outside the barrier. My dad said that we won't ship anything out in the near future." Ren Xiaosu glanced at them. Zhang Jinglin once said that industries with serious pollution are basically placed outside the barrier, while those with less serious pollution are partly placed inside the barrier. Of course, this is not absolute. Sometimes he would be confused. It was as if the barrier was sucking the blood of all the refugees outside. The people outside were in dire straits, while the people inside were living in peace and prosperity. The refugees outside were required to collect only the most basic raw materials for production, and all deep processing had to be done inside the barrier. This meant that the refugees had to spend money to buy many things from the barrier. In this way, the money earned by the refugees would eventually return to the hands of the barrier. For the bigwigs of the consortium, this was just a simple game. In fact, Ren Xiaosu felt that the value of many people in the barrier was not that important. Why did the consortium support so many people? However, unlike what Ren Xiaosu imagined, the people in the barrier had actually been in the barrier since the beginning of its establishment, and the consortium was not necessarily a consortium at the beginning. When the consortium grew and gained power, the groups in the barrier had already solidified and formed their own unique way of survival. Even if the consortium wanted to change, it would also be painful. The difference between most of the people in the barrier and the refugees is that the people in the barrier have won at the starting line since they were born. There is no other reason. The student in front of him looks like a rich second generation. Wang Dalin used to be the rich second generation in their town, but now Wang Dalin is far behind him. At this time, a young lady in the car found that Wang Dalin was looking at her with an obsessed look, so she gave Wang Dalin a fierce look, but even so, Wang Dalin still did not shift his gaze, very focused. Suddenly, Ren Xiaosu heard those students change the topic. Have you heard about the transfer student in class 2 of senior 3? You mean that girl? The other boys became interested. I saw her from a distance the day before yesterday. I heard that she transferred from another middle school. But she always wears a baseball cap, so you can't see her face clearly. A girl who can make a group of boys discuss must be excellent to a certain extent. However, Ren Xiaosu suddenly felt strange when he heard this. At this time, the driver in front of the tram shouted, "We've arrived at number 13 middle school." Ren Xiaosu took Yan Liwen and Wang Dalin off the tram. It was only 4 stops from the store to the school. Ren Xiaosu was considering whether he could walk to school in the future. However, suddenly, Yan Liwen found that Ren Xiaosu was frozen. He turned his head and looked in the direction of Ren Xiaosu's gaze. He saw a girl in a peaked cap at the school gate looking at Ren Xiaosu. Ren Xiaosu had guessed it on the bus, but he didn't expect to meet Yang Xiaojun here. The next moment, Ren Xiaosu and Yang Xiaojun didn't plan to reminisce about the past. Instead, they reached to their waists at the same time and made a gesture of drawing their guns. Then they both remembered that they were here to go to school. In fact, his gun was not behind his waist, but in the storage space of the palace. Yan Liwen was confused. Wasn't this girl in a peaked cap someone close to the big star Luo Zinao? Why did she appear here and make Ren Xiaosu so nervous? At this moment, Ren Xiaosu's mind was racing. He saw that Yang Xiaojun seemed a little surprised and even wanted to kill him to silence her. Ren Xiaosu could probably guess why Yang Xiaojun reacted like this. It was obvious that Yang Xiaojun was probably the transfer student that those students had just mentioned. After this girl came out of Jingshan, she went directly to Barrier 109 and entered the barrier directly. Crossing the barrier can be explained by Luo Zinao's extraordinary ability, but superpowers can't be used to register for school, right? Question mark. No one has such an awesome superpower. So the organization that the other party belongs to must have infiltrated this barrier. As long as we check how Yang Xiaojun got her student status, we might be able to find out who is hiding in Barrier 109 behind her. Although they were teammates and had a short-term alliance, to be honest, their relationship is not that close. It is normal for Yang Xiaojun to react like this in order to protect her companions in the organization behind her. Ren Xiaosu is somewhat helpless. He did not expect to run into this girl in a baseball cap here. This girl might not know that he already knew who wrote the note stuck in the crack of the door. The two people were deadlocked at the school gate. Many students passing by looked at them in surprise. Ren Xiaosu felt that this was not a solution, so he took the initiative to make peace. He slowly took his hand out from behind his waist and indicated that he did not have a gun. Yang Xiaojun looked at him calmly, but did not put his hand down. Ren Xiaosu glanced at the passers-by next to him, and tried to find words to further ease the relationship between them. "Give me back the dagger." Yang Xiaojun raised her eyebrows. To be honest, she did not expect Ren Xiaosu to say this. At this time, several students came over. When they saw Yang Xiaojun, they greeted her. "Hey, why are you standing here?" Yang Xiaojun calmly pointed at Ren Xiaosu. "He is trying to steal my things." Ren Xiaosu, meow meow meow. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 143 Transfer Students Ren Xiaosu. When a group of students heard that Ren Xiaosu was going to rob Yang Xiaojun, their faces immediately turned ugly. They even called other students to come over and were about to bring Ren Xiaosu to justice. More and more students came to watch. On the one hand, Yang Xiaojun had become famous after transferring to another school, and on the other hand, humans always like to watch the fun. Ren Xiaosu was anxious at the time. I know her. It would be really unfair if he was treated as a robber and executed on the first day of school. The key point is that Ren Xiaosu didn't expect Yang Xiaojun to be so cruel and actually said that he robbed things. Is that robbery? The dagger should have been his, okay? He exchanged it for food. It was fine if you stole the dagger again, but how can you blame it now? The students looked at Yang Xiaojun suspiciously, then at Ren Xiaosu. Do you two know each other? It doesn't look like it. I really know each other, Ren Xiaosu said quickly. Isn't this all a misunderstanding? I'm also a student of our number 13 middle school. You said you know her, then what's her name? A male classmate asked. Yang Xiaojun. Ren Xiaosu was amused. This was Yang Xiaojun's biggest flaw. He knew her name. But the next moment, the male classmate sneered. You are still pretending to know her. Her name is obviously Ren Xiaosu. Ren Xiaosu felt like he was struck by lightning and almost collapsed at that time. He looked at Yang Xiaojun in disbelief, but he found that Yang Xiaojun was not embarrassed at all. She looked like nothing happened and was concentrating on watching Ren Xiaosu's joke. But brother, your name on your student record is Ren Xiaosu? Exclamation mark. What the hell should I be called? Aren't you ashamed? At this time, a student looked at Ren Xiaosu. You said you are also a student of number 13 middle school. Why don't you wear a school uniform? Which class are you from and what's your name? Ren Xiaosu calmed down a little this time. He sorted out his thoughts. If I say my name is Ren Xiaosu, you will definitely not believe it. Yan Liuan, who was standing next to him, almost laughed himself silly. At this time, he carefully looked at Yang Xiaojun. It seemed that his brother had dealt with her a lot in Jingshan. Yan Liuan felt that the farce in front of him was not a big deal at all. It was indeed interesting to see Ren Xiaosu being embarrassed occasionally. However, there were too few people who could make Ren Xiaosu embarrassed. This girl in the peaked cap was not an ordinary person. Moreover, ordinary people did not need to use aliases. While Ren Xiaosu was still arguing with others, Yan Liuan had already run to Yang Xiaojun and said, "Hello, sister. I'm Ren Xiaosu's younger brother. My name is Yan Liuan." Yang Xiaojun had tricked Ren Xiaosu without blinking an eye, but when she saw Yan Liuan, she immediately became friendly and whispered, "Well, hello, I'm your brother's good friend." Yan Liuan looked back at Ren Xiaosu who was surrounded by the crowd. Is this really something a good friend can do? In the end, Ren Xiaosu was taken to the academic affairs office by a large group of people. The teacher in the academic affairs office was about to get angry when he heard that someone had robbed a student, but he became polite when he saw Ren Xiaosu's admission procedures. He received a notice yesterday that one student would be enrolled in the high school department and 2 students would be enrolled in the junior high school department in the next few days. This notice was personally given by the principal at the time, and he was told many times, these 3 students are very important and are relatives of the barrier manager Liu Yuan. Although the actual controller of the barrier is the Li group, when the interests of the group are not violated, the daily management of the barrier is presided over by Liu Yuan, who can be said to have the power of life and death over many people. Maybe the group has never taken Liu Yuan seriously, but for ordinary people, Liu Yuan is someone they need to look up to. It's just that the teacher in the academic affairs office is a little confused. Didn't Ren Xiaosu just enroll a few days ago? He looked at the enrollment procedures in front of him and suddenly felt a little confused. Ren Xiaosu felt that he and Yang Xiaojun had not finished this matter. Teacher, which class should I go to? Ren Xiaosu asked. The teacher in the academic affairs office smiled and said, let's go, class 3 of senior 3, I'll take you to meet the new classmates. He called another teacher to take Yan Liuan and the others to the junior high school, and he personally took Ren Xiaosu to the senior high school. At this time, Ren Xiaosu suddenly remembered something. What did the students on the tram say? The new transfer student is in class 2 of senior 3? Fortunately, he was not assigned to the same class as Yang Xiaojun. Otherwise, With two people named Ren Xiaosu in the same class, Ren Xiaosu would not be able to bear it, and even the teacher would probably collapse. When Ren Xiaosu entered the class, the teacher who sent him over said kindly, "There is an empty seat in the third row from the bottom. You can sit there first. We arrange seats according to grades here. After this exam, if you have good grades, you can choose your own seat." "Okay, thank you, teacher," Ren Xiaosu said politely. On his way here, he saw that Yang Xiaojin's class 2 was next door, and Yang Xiaojin was sitting alone in the last row. The two looked at each other, and they were full of fighting spirit. Speaking of which, Yang Xiaojin was really not afraid that he would go to the Qing group to report her. No, Ren Xiaosu felt that he had to let Yan Liwen and the others leave first tonight. He was sure that Yang Xiaojin would do something weird after school. Ren Xiaosu sat down. On his left was a female classmate of the same age, and on his right was the aisle. "Hello, my name is Xiao Yuki, and you?" The female classmate greeted Ren Xiaosu. "Ren Xiaosu?" Xiao Yuki asked curiously, "Are you a transfer student?" Ren Xiaosu was silent for a moment. "Yes." "Which school did you transfer from?" Xiao Yuki asked. "East of the city." Ren Xiaosu heard the other party ask this. He hesitated for a moment and replied, "From number 5 middle school." "Number 5 middle school?" Xiao Yuki was stunned. "There is no number 5 middle school in our barrier." This time Ren Xiaosu was confused. "You already have number 13 middle school, how can there be no number 5 middle school?" Exclamation mark. "How do you arrange the sequence numbers in your barrier?" In fact, there was originally number 5 middle school in the barrier, but later it was merged with number 6 middle school because it was too close. In recent years, the population in the barrier has been growing, so the original number 5 middle school site was demolished and built into a residential building. But Ren Xiaosu didn't know this, he just said it casually. "You?" Xiao Yuki looked at Ren Xiaosu suspiciously. "Which school did you transfer from?" "Number 8 middle school." Ren Xiaosu asked tentatively. At this time, no matter how stupid Xiao Yuki was, she realized that something was wrong. She paused for a while and suddenly asked, "You didn't come from outside the barrier?" As she spoke, Xiao Yuki moved away from Ren Xiaosu. These days, rumors about refugees carrying the virus were flying everywhere. 144 Deformity. The entire barrier was abuzz with discussions about the refugees. Some things may not seem serious at first, but they become more and more terrifying as they spread. For example, when the refugees entered the barrier, some people were worried at first, will the refugees bring in germs or something? After all, the barrier said that the refugees were contaminated. Then when it was passed to the second person, it became, it's over. The refugees brought germs into the barrier. Then it was passed to the third person and it became, dozens of people have died from the germs carried by the refugees. At the end, it was, the refugees want to kill all the people in the barrier with germs. Xiao Yuki and Ren Xiaosu distanced themselves from each other, but they were in the same class and sat at the same table. Where could you run away if you distanced yourself? Facing Xiao Yuki's questioning, Ren Xiaosu did not answer or lie. He did not say that he was not a refugee, because Ren Xiaosu always believed that being a refugee was not a wrong thing in itself. This was not something he could choose, and there was nothing shameful about it. Ren Xiaosu will take a good shower and change into new clothes, trying to blend into this environment first, but he will not deny his identity, which will be a denial of his life in the past 17 years. So at this moment, Xiao Yuki looked at the silent Ren Xiaosu and knew that she had guessed right. Refugee. Xiao Yuki was in a complicated mood. Her new deskmate was actually a refugee. To be honest, Xiao Yuki even wanted to change seats with someone else, but at this time an old man came in with a hunched back. The old man put the lesson plan on the podium and said slowly, "The final exam is coming soon. Today we will review trigonometric functions." Ren Xiaosu was stunned. What is a function? Tang Zhou had asked Ren Xiaosu before whether he wanted to go directly to the senior high school courses. At that time, Ren Xiaosu confidently said that he studied hard in the market town, and learning was not a problem for him at all. However, now Ren Xiaosu suddenly found that what Zhang Jinglin taught was a little different from what he taught in this barrier. Actually, it was not Zhang Jinglin's fault. You have to know that Zhang Jinglin himself was not a genuine teacher, and most of the students in the class were young boys and girls like Yan Liwen and Wang Dalin. so he didn't have to teach anything of higher grades. Most students at Ren Xiaosu's age would go home to help with work, and only Ren Xiaosu would always have an abnormal desire for knowledge. Therefore, all these reasons led to Ren Xiaosu not being able to understand what was being said in class now. He was confused during the class. Ren Xiaosu used to be very energetic in class, and he wanted to put everything Zhang Jinglin said into his head. However, this time was different. He also wanted to put this trigonometric function into his head, but his strength did not allow it, and he could not put it in. When he came to complete the enrollment procedures, the education department gave him new textbooks. However, these textbooks were for the third year of high school. If Ren Xiaosu wanted to make up for it, he would probably have to start from the first year of high school. During the break, Ren Xiaosu's deskmate couldn't wait to leave his seat. Several students gathered in the corner of the classroom and whispered. From time to time, everyone exclaimed or frowned. Ren Xiaosu didn't even need to think about it. He knew that this group of people were probably discussing his identity as a refugee and the possible dangers of his identity as a refugee. The barrier was not very friendly to refugees. This was Ren Xiaosu's personal experience. At one moment, he even felt that he was still living comfortably in the market town. Of course, with a threat of experimental subjects and wolves now, living in the market town might not be very safe. I'm afraid that the refugees outside the 109 barrier have not yet realized that there are too many things that can threaten their lives in the wilderness now. So there is a reason why Ren Xiaosu taught Yan Liuan and others to be patient for the time being, because he has not yet found a safe haven that can replace the barrier. After a break, it seemed that the whole class knew that Ren Xiaosu was a refugee, and everyone's attitude towards him became a little colder. Some students who originally wanted to take the initiative to get to know Ren Xiaosu also had mixed emotions. The most important thing is that in order to solidify their own class and let everyone get used to the refugees being inferior, the consortium has been intentionally or unintentionally promoting the polluted argument, using the word polluted to keep refugees out, so as not to get caught up in a moral storm. I also want refugees to enter the barrier, but they are polluted, and letting them in is irresponsible to others. There are many such remarks, and the people in the barrier are used to it. However, Ren Xiaosu didn't feel anything. Although he also wanted to make some friends in school, if others didn't want to be friends with him, he wouldn't force it. After all, he and Yan Liuan have been dependent on each other for so many years, and the attitudes of others are not that important to him. After school that day, Ren Xiaosu immediately walked out of the classroom with his school bag on his back. He was not in a hurry to go home, but he couldn't let Yang Xiaojun disappear from his sight. During the night in Jingshan, Ren Xiaosu clearly remembered how terrifying Yang Xiaojun's sniper rifle was. If Yang Xiaojun found the commanding heights first, he would be dead. In Ren Xiaosu's opinion, Yang Xiaojun was likely to kill to silence her. Because Ren Xiaosu had confirmed that as long as he told Luolan about Yang Xiaojun's enrollment in number 13 middle school, not only would Yang Xiaojun's plan fail, but the person who handled Yang Xiaojun's enrollment would also be in trouble. Ren Xiaosu believed that the Qing group still had hidden power in this barrier. If they found Yang Xiaojun's whereabouts, Qing Zhen and Luolan would not miss the opportunity to eliminate the threat. When he went out, he happened to see Yang Xiaojun walking out of the next classroom. The corners of Yang Xiaojun's mouth under her cap were slightly upturned. She did not walk out of the school, but walked in the opposite direction to the top floor of the teaching building. There was a rooftop there, and it would be very quiet after school. Ren Xiaosu frowned. He was not sure what Yang Xiaojun wanted to do. After school, students rushed out of the school like a stream. It was only 5 o'clock in the afternoon, and many students chose to stay in school to play basketball or football. When Ren Xiaosu saw this scene from afar, he wondered how much the refugees would feel if they knew that when they were still hungry, the people in the barrier began to pursue entertainment. So the wall of the barrier not only blocked the dangers in the wilderness, but also blocked the eyes of the refugees, so that they could not know how comfortable the real barrier was now. However, Ren Xiaosu felt that this was a bit distorted, more like after experiencing that disaster, humans infinitely magnified their desire for singing and dancing. Just like a poor person who has suffered from oppression will most likely choose to spend extravagantly after becoming rich, this is a deformed psychological need. Sorry for being a little late today. Today's book recommendation, All Heavens Return to One by Jia Chizu. Introduction. When all the me in the world are combined into one, I am the supreme and only one who knows everything. Chapter 145 Each Other's Secrets. In the crowd of people leaving school, Ren Xiaosu and Yang Xiaojun walked against the flow of people to the rooftop, which was a bit abrupt. However, everyone was in a hurry to leave school, so no one paid attention to them. Ren Xiaosu followed Yang Xiaojun and suddenly found that the other person had a really good figure and was tall. Yang Xiaojun glanced at him at the corner of the stairs, and Ren Xiaosu immediately retracted his gaze. When they reached the top of the building, Yang Xiaojun pushed open the rusty iron door of the rooftop and walked out. Standing on the rooftop, Ren Xiaosu instantly felt that his vision had broadened. This was the first time he had the opportunity to overlook the barrier. Although the height of the teaching building was not very good, he could already see very far. At this time, Yang Xiaojun threw something at Ren Xiaosu, which was the dagger that Yang Xiaojun had stolen from Ren Xiaosu. "We are even now," Yang Xiaojun said calmly. She did not explain why she stole the dagger, and Ren Xiaosu did not continue to pursue the matter. The two stood on the rooftop in a stalemate. Suddenly, footsteps were heard at the entrance of the rooftop behind Ren Xiaosu. He turned around and saw that it was a boy and a girl, holding hands and walking up the stairs. They looked like a couple. The couple didn't care when they found someone on the rooftop and continued to walk up to the rooftop. As a result, Ren Xiaosu closed the door of the rooftop. The couple looked at the closed door, confused. When Ren Xiaosu closed the door and looked back at Yang Xiaojun, he found that the other party had a small silver-white pistol in his hand pointing at him. Ren Xiaosu recognized the origin of the pistol at a glance. It was SIGP-238, a classic pocket pistol type of SIG Sauer, and it could be called a beautiful girl among pistols. However, Ren Xiaosu was not panicked. He said, "If we wanted to fight, we would have done it a long time ago. Aren't we here to talk about how to reconcile?" If Yang Xiaojun really intended to shoot, then the other party would not have thrown the dagger to him. Ren Xiaosu was unusually calm at this time. Yang Xiaojun put the gun away again. "How did you escape from the blockade of the Qing group?" "I just ran all the way out." Ren Xiaosu pretended to be dumbfounded. "What happened in Jingshan after we left?" Yang Xiaojun asked. "Countless test subjects rushed out, and there were monsters in the crater," Ren Xiaosu said briefly. "Many unexpected events happened. You can't imagine how terrible the monsters in the crater are." "I can imagine it," Yang Xiaojun corrected. This answer made Ren Xiaosu stunned, because Yang Xiaojun's tone was very firm. Could it be that Yang Xiaojun had seen a creature of this size before? Ren Xiaosu asked curiously, "Are you worried that I will report you to the Qing group?" "I'm not afraid now," Yang Xiaojun said, "because you are also afraid that the Qing group will know the secret." "What secret?" Ren Xiaosu felt as if something was wrong, as if there was a detail he missed. Yang Xiaojun laughed, with a hint of pride in her smile. "When Luo Zinayu and I returned along the same route, we discovered that the wolves were always waiting at the end of the canyon. If it weren't for Luo Zinayu's ability to travel through shadows, I'm afraid we would have had to take a detour. And I calculated the time you returned. You must have returned to the market town before the 113 barrier was destroyed. First of all, if you were just an ordinary person with a little more strength, then you would not be able to run that fast. Secondly, if you were an ordinary person, you would not be able to get through the wolves' blockade." Ren Xiaosu's heart tightened, and he heard Yang Xiaojun say, "So you are also a transcendent, but you are hiding deeper than Luo Zinayu, and I no wonder you dared to join the team and go to Jingshan in the end. It turns out that you had something to rely on." "I didn't see any wolves on the way back," Ren Xiaosu said calmly. "I just ran directly through the canyon. The human-faced worms are not fast, and I had already run past them when they came out of the cave." Yang Xiaojun looked at Ren Xiaosu seriously and said, "I don't want to listen." Ren Xiaosu. He was helpless. He explained a lot, but the other party denied his reason with just 3 words. But Yang Xiaojun suddenly said, "I'm not threatening you by saying this. I just want you to understand that everyone has secrets, so don't do anything that will hurt both sides. Deal?" Ren Xiaosu said. In fact, his purpose was the same. As long as everyone lived in peace, there would be no problem. Before, everyone in Jingshan got along well with each other. There was no need to kill each other here. Moreover, if Yang Xiaojun and the others really wanted to take action, he would actually have more weaknesses, because Yan Luiyun and Xiaoyuji were all ordinary people. Of course, A short period of peaceful coexistence does not mean that Ren Xiaosu should relax his vigilance. After all, Yang Xiaojun can even steal back the dagger that was given to her. What else can she not do? After saying this, Yang Xiaojun was ready to go downstairs. When she passed by Ren Xiaosu, she suddenly found that Ren Xiaosu suddenly held the dagger tightly. Ren Xiaosu asked, "Why did Spark Company buy the blood of extraordinary people? Why did you want to kill Qing Zhen?" "The dangers of the 109 barrier are more than you think," Yang Xiaojun said. "Don't provoke Spark easily, and don't sell blood. That's all I can say. As for the matter between us and Qing Zhen, it's not something you can interfere with." "What other dangers are there?" Ren Xiaosu was stunned for a moment. Could it be that in addition to the Spark Company, there are other organizations and forces here? "Don't worry about it," Yang Xiaojun said, "and you probably don't have much time to take care of other things recently. You may have underestimated how radical the barrier people's subconscious is in rejecting refugees." Ren Xiaosu thought, it seems that the matter of refugees entering the barrier is not over yet. At this time, he looked down and saw a girl wearing a headscarf and sunglasses standing at the school gate. When the other party saw him turn his eyes, she actually waved and greeted him. Just by looking at this familiar greeting gesture, Ren Xiaosu knew that it was Luo Zhenyu. At this time, Ren Xiaosu asked his last question. In fact, to be precise, this was the deepest doubt in his heart: why did extraordinary people appear? Yang Xiaojun stood at the entrance of the rooftop and looked back at Ren Xiaosu. She tapped her head with her finger. "Humans have been weakening their physical abilities in the process of evolution. You also said this in Jingxin." Mr. Zhang Jinglin from the 178th barrier said that this is the price of wisdom. "I know," Ren Xiaosu nodded. At that time, Yang Xiaojun also hinted to him that Zhang Jinglin was not simple. It turned out that Yang Xiaojun had guessed the other party's identity at that time, but was not sure. Suddenly, Ren Xiaosu always felt that the conversation at this moment was crucial. The other party seemed to be using the information he knew to reveal the truth of the world today. Ren Xiaosu became serious. "So, if there is a price to pay, there will naturally be greater gains," Yang Xiaojun said. Ren Xiaosu was stunned for a moment. "What do you mean?" Yang Xiaojun smiled. She pulled her cap down and said, "When disaster strikes, spiritual will is the first-order weapon for humans to face danger." Chapter 146 Bicycle. When Ren Xiaosu brought Yan Luoyun and the others back to the shop in the evening, he suddenly found something wrong. Why were there so many people in the shop? After they took over, they told many patients that they would no longer see doctors in the shop, so the popularity of the shop quickly cooled down. He and Lao Wang hadn't figured out what to do with the shop in the past few days. Ren Xiaosu walked in and found that those people were surrounding Wang Fuge, who was explaining something to them. "Boss, you're back." Wang Fuge's eyes lit up when he saw Ren Xiaosu. "Well, why are there so many people?" Ren Xiaosu asked. Wang Fuge pulled Ren Xiaosu aside and lowered his voice and said, "Didn't we sell a dose of black medicine the day before yesterday? As a result, people came here so soon because of our reputation. Is this possible?" Ren Xiaosu was a little confused. "You guys are just having a meal together and you're promoting this stuff," Wang Fuge said with a smile. "You young guys are strong and energetic, but you don't know the pain of middle-aged and elderly men. We all share the same pain. And our black medicine has no side effects after taking it, which is much better than other medicines. You can't sell too much," Ren Xiaosu refused. "Tell them that you can only sell one dose a week. We can't make more." Wang Fuge felt bad. He saw that he couldn't make a good business. If Ren Xiaosu could give him more goods, he dared to guarantee that his store could become the largest health medicine store in the barrier. What does it mean to monopolize the health medicine of a barrier? But Ren Xiaosu said no, that was no. Wang Fuge explained to the customers that if they wanted to buy, they should wait until next week. At this time, a customer suddenly said, "I'll pay 800 yuan to reserve the medicine for next week. You can keep it for me when you make it." Wang Fuge's eyes lit up. Is this okay? Even Wang Fuge, the profiteer, didn't realize that the demand for black medicine from these middle-aged men in the barrier was so strong. When the others heard that someone had increased the price by 200 to make a reservation, they lost their temper. Although they wanted to buy it, they didn't want to be cheated. So after the person who made the reservation paid the deposit, the others quickly dispersed. Yan Luoyun next to him suddenly said, We can't use that simple small porcelain bottle anymore. We have to use the best box to hold the black medicine, and we have to create momentum. Make this black medicine as mysterious as possible. Lin is still smart. Wang Fuga became excited. Maybe we don't have to sell anything else in the future. A dose of black medicine a week can make us rich. At this time, Wang Fuga seemed to have discovered a huge business opportunity. Okay, Ren Xiaosu nodded, you decide. I don't know anything about business. By the way, where's Chen Wudi? He left as soon as you went to school, Wang Fuga said. I don't know where he went. I can't find him. But don't worry, he will come back at mealtime, very punctual. Ren Xiaosu was stunned for a moment. Just remember to come back for mealtime. Wang Fuga hesitated for a moment. He didn't come back for mealtime. This confused Ren Xiaosu. Didn't you say he would come back at mealtime? Why would he come back if he didn't want to eat? The next moment, Chen Wudi came in from outside with a bunch of things. Wang Fuga stared at Chen Wudi's figure and said, he came to bring us food. Chen Wudi shouted in a huge voice, Master, I'm back from begging. Ren Xiaosu. At this time, Ren Xiaosu saw a lot of things in the other party's arms, including steamed buns, rolls, and a small bag of pickles. There were quite a lot of kinds. What Ren Xiaosu couldn't figure out was how deeply Chen Wudi was immersed in the roll. Chen Wudi stuffed all the food into Ren Xiaosu's arms. Ren Xiaosu was stunned. Where did you get so much food? Ren Xiaosu was worried that Chen Wudi had a big appetite before, but now he saw that he was self-sufficient. I begged for food, Chen Wudi said happily. You want food, and they give it to you? Are they so generous? Ren Xiaosu asked curiously. They don't give it for free. I said I can help them exorcise demons, Chen Wudi said. Ren Xiaosu was shocked at the time. Did you show your ability? No, Master, didn't you let me? Chen Wudi explained. Only then did Ren Xiaosu breathe a sigh of relief. He was really worried that Chen Wudi would be targeted by other financial groups. Then how did you get the food back? Chen Wudi thought for a long time. I forced it. Ren Xiaosu. Wait. The concept of begging seems to have been taught to Chen Wudi by Ren Xiaosu. At that time, they were still on the road to escape, and Ren Xiaosu asked Chen Wudi to go to those refugees to beg for food. So the alms that Chen Wudi was talking about was the alms that he taught. At this moment, Ren Xiaosu was a little worried that the police officers from the barrier order department would rush in and arrest Chen Wudi. He didn't know the process of Chen Wudi's alms, so he was not sure whether Chen Wudi's alms constituted burglary or something. Well, Ren Xiaosu said earnestly, don't go out recently. Why? Chen Wudi asked curiously. First of all, our family is not short of food now, Ren Xiaosu said. Secondly, you have to stay out of the limelight. No, Master, it's too boring at home. Beiji and the others have things to do, but I have nothing to do, Chen Wudi said aggrievedly. Ren Xiaosu was embarrassed. Then even if you go out, you can't go begging anymore, understand? Oh, Chen Wudi agreed. You can ignore others' words, but you can't ignore the master's words. After Yang Xiaojin's reminder, Ren Xiaosu became more and more worried that other consortiums would target Chen Wudi, especially the mysterious Fire Seed Company. Other financial groups are still okay, but this Spark Company seems to be targeting extraordinary people. Fortunately, this is not the home of the Spark Company. At this time, Sister Xiaoyu came back from outside. She called Ren Xiaosu and said, Xiaosu, take a look at the gift I bought for you. Ren Xiaosu was stunned when he saw it. Sister Xiaoyu bought a bicycle from somewhere, but Sister Xiaoyu didn't know how to ride it. She pushed it back. Sister Xiaoyu, why did you buy this thing? It's not cheap, right? Ren Xiaosu asked curiously. It's okay. I still have some private money I saved before. This will make it convenient for you to go to school in the future. Sister Xiaoyu was happy, as if she had received a gift. As soon as she pushed the bicycle to the backyard, Yan Lin surrounded her. How do you ride this thing? Isn't it difficult to balance with two wheels? Ren Xiaosu asked. Does anyone know how to ride it? A group of people gathered around the bicycle. Wang Fuga shook his head, and Sister Xiaoyu also shook her head. Ren Xiaosu tried a few times but found that he was not getting the point. He thought about asking Jiang Wu or Yang Xiaojin for help tomorrow. Chapter 147 Helping Classmates. The next day, Ren Xiaosu found that the atmosphere was a little strange when he entered the classroom. As soon as he walked in, the students who were discussing things in the classroom suddenly became quiet. Ren Xiaosu walked to his seat as if nothing had happened and lowered his head to read the book. He thought that since he couldn't keep up with the course, he would start from the beginning. So Ren Xiaosu asked Wang Fugi to buy the textbooks for the first and second year of high school yesterday, and he started to study the first courses by himself today. When studying by himself, Ren Xiaosu always had a premonition in his heart that these students seemed to know what was going to happen, and everyone tacitly chose to hide it from Ren Xiaosu. This matter must be disadvantageous to Ren Xiaosu. There were 4 classes in the morning, 1 Chinese, 1 geography, 1 mathematics, and 1 physics. Chinese was okay, but Ren Xiaosu really couldn't understand mathematics and physics at this stage. Geography was a bit strange. Ren Xiaosu suddenly found that the content of this geography class was completely different from his cognition, and it was very fragmented. There was not even a complete map in this geography textbook. It was all about things near the 109 barrier and some knowledge related to geography and economy. Ren Xiaosu guessed that the barrier was also missing some information from the outside world. Just like the Li group would never share their surveying and mapping maps with the Qing group, other groups also kept a confidential attitude towards each other. He was different from ordinary students. Ordinary students only learned the knowledge in the geography textbooks, but when Ren Xiaosu read the textbooks, he would think about the geopolitics between the groups. At this moment, Ren Xiaosu suddenly realized that he could no longer think about problems as an ordinary student. Ren Xiaosu turned his head inadvertently and saw that his deskmate Xiao Yuki was pale, as if he was enduring some pain, and his left hand was still covering his stomach. At this time, the long-lost palace spoke again. Mission, help classmates. Now Ren Xiaosu felt much more intimate when he heard the palace's voice. After all, every time the palace spoke, it could bring him huge gains. Ren Xiaosu pondered for a moment and said to Xiao Yuki, "Do you have a stomachache?" Xiao Yuki glanced at him, but did not speak, as if she was very taboo to talk to Ren Xiaosu. But Ren Xiaosu was always paying attention to the palace. As long as the task was not completed, he would not give up. "Classmate, is it because you didn't bring paper?" "I have paper here," Ren Xiaosu said. He thought Xiao Yuki had a stomachache. Xiao Yuki couldn't help but roll his eyes at him. "I don't have a stomachache." This was beyond Ren Xiaosu's cognition. "What's the matter? Are you sick? Shall I take you to the hospital?" "Don't ask nonsense," Xiao Yuki said impatiently. "My disease is incurable." "Incurable?" Ren Xiaosu was stunned for a moment. "Is it so serious?" To be honest, Xiao Yuki was a little regretful at this moment whether his attitude was too bad. People were caring about him, but he was speaking badly to them. As the saying goes, don't hide a smiling person. They rejected Ren Xiaosu's identity as a refugee, mostly because their parents instilled some ideas in them, or out of fear. However, just when Xiao Yuki was about to soften her tone, she suddenly saw Ren Xiaosu stand up and walk towards the podium. The class gradually became quiet, and everyone looked at Ren Xiaosu. They wanted to see what Ren Xiaosu was going to do. At this time, Ren Xiaosu walked to the podium and said to the students with a sad face, "Hello everyone, our classmate Xiao Yuki has an incurable terminal illness. I hope that all of you can lend a helping hand to her and donate some money to her." Xiao Yuki. The whole class. All the classmates' eyes were focused on Xiao Yuki in an instant, and Xiao Yuki almost collapsed on the spot. What the hell is this terminal illness? Isn't it just her period? Question mark. Can you have some common sense? Of course, she was not sure whether Ren Xiaosu really didn't know or did it on purpose. At this moment, the palace set in Ren Xiaosu's mind, task completed, reward perfect level skill learning map. Ren Xiaosu's eyes lit up. It's done? And he even gave her a perfect level skill learning map. This time he really made a lot of money. You know, there are too many people to learn from in this barrier now. Yang Xiaojun and Luo Zhenyu are both extraordinary people with extraordinary abilities. No matter whose skills he learns, he will make a profit. However, Ren Xiaosu didn't want to use this perfect level skill learning map on Yang Xiaojun at this time. On the one hand, he was particularly interested in Luo Zhenyu's ability to shuttle through shadows. With a skill, he could take Yan Liuan and the others to shuttle through the high wall of the barrier at will. In this way, he could come and go freely when he wanted to, which was equivalent to mastering the initiative. Moreover, when fighting, having the ability to cross the domain distance in one step would be really too powerful and hard to defend against. In addition, another reason why Ren Xiaosu didn't want to use this perfect level skill learning map on Yang Xiaojun was that Yang Xiaojun had too many skills above the master level, and they were all messy skills. When he had to extract a skill like singing nursery rhymes, Ren Xiaosu would have no place to cry. When he studied Su Xianchu last time, he found that if the other party did not have a master level skill, then this learning map would directly determine that he had learned extraordinary abilities, so from the perspective of risk control, he should also study Luo Zhenyu. During the next break, what happened in Ren Xiaosu's class was immediately spread to other classes. When Ren Xiaosu was taking a breath in the corridor, he saw Yang Xiaojun standing in the corridor. The other party was wearing a baseball cap and leaning on the handrail of the corridor, looking at Ren Xiaosu. Gradually, Yang Xiaojun's originally calm body began to tremble uncontrollably. "Laugh if you want to," Ren Xiaosu said calmly. "Ha ha ha." Yang Xiaojun smiled and went back to her classroom, leaving Ren Xiaosu standing alone in the corridor looking at the playground. This was the first time Ren Xiaosu saw Yang Xiaojun laughing so happily. For some reason, Ren Xiaosu suddenly felt that instead of getting along with those so-called classmates, it would be better to guard against and help each other with Yang Xiaojun in the wilderness. The bell rang and Ren Xiaosu turned and walked into the classroom. However, there were footsteps and voices outside the classroom. It seemed that a group of people were walking towards the classroom door. Xiao Yuki's expression showed a happy look, as if she knew what was about to happen. At this time, the head teacher appeared at the classroom door. He waved to Ren Xiaosu in the classroom and said, "Ren Xiaosu, come out for a moment." Updated in advance today. Thanks to Book Friends 161,112,211,037,559 and Jiang Nanan for becoming new allies of this book. Chapter 148 Changing Classes. Ren Xiaosu walked out of the classroom and saw a large group of middle-aged people standing behind the head teacher. The head teacher considered his tone and said, "These are the parents of our classmates. It's like this. Everyone reported that you might be carrying germs brought in from outside the barrier, so everyone hopes that you can transfer to another school." Ren Xiaosu was puzzled. Transfer? To where? After this incident, I'm afraid no school would be willing to accept him, right? However, a male parent said, "If no school wants you, then just drop out of school, because it's not good for you to affect the safety of the whole class." Ren Xiaosu sighed in his heart. This was probably all within Yang Xiaojun's expectations. No wonder she said yesterday that the subconscious of the barrier people to reject refugees would be more radical than imagined. When he saw these parents, he realized why those classmates shut up when they saw him. It should be that after the students went back and told him about this incident last night, the parents immediately decided to come to the school together to jointly force him, a refugee, to drop out of school. To these parents, Ren Xiaosu was just a refugee. With so many people standing up, the school would also compromise for them. These days, as long as you dare to make trouble, nothing can be done. Ren Xiaosu looked at these parents and said, "What if I don't transfer schools?" To be honest, if this was in the wilderness, these parents might have died. The rules in the wilderness are simpler and more direct than here. However, the parents ignored Ren Xiaosu. They looked at the head teacher and said loudly, "If you don't let him transfer schools, who will take responsibility if there is an epidemic in the school? And all the medical expenses in the future will be borne by you. If you don't pay, we will go to court to sue you." Ren Xiaosu thought about it. He did see the word court in the town school. It is a place to maintain justice and fairness, but there has never been such a thing in the town. He didn't expect that the first time he was associated with the word court was because of such a trivial matter. The students all walked out of the classroom quietly. They watched the conversation here because they also wanted to know how this matter would be resolved in the end. The head teacher of Class 3 of Senior 3 was in a dilemma. Yesterday, the teacher from the Academic Affairs Office had told him that this was arranged by Liu Yuan. No one expected that the student arranged by Liu Yuan was actually a refugee. The head teacher was going to pass the buck. He whispered to the parents, "This student was arranged by Liu Yuan. Why don't you talk to Liu Yuan about it?" The parents looked at each other. They didn't know about this before. If they knew that Ren Xiaosu was arranged by Liu Yuan, they probably wouldn't be so aggressive. But before they could figure out what to do, a figure suddenly squeezed in from the crowd outside the corridor. Ren Xiaosu turned around and saw that it was Jiang Wu. Jiang Wu looked at the parents and said, "What are you going to do?" "We are not doing anything," a parent said. "We can't just watch the refugees go to school with our children, can we?" "Why can't we?" Jiang Wu was a little angry, so that his face was a little bloody. "Aren't we all human beings? Who said that refugees will definitely spread diseases? Did any of your children go home sick last night?" The parents were a little weaker. "That's not the case, but I heard that someone in the barrier is sick." "You heard it?" Jiang Wu raised his voice a little. "You heard something and it can ruin a student's future." "What future do refugees have?" The parents also slowly got angry. "Who are you?" "I'm a teacher in this school," Jiang Wu said. At this time, Ren Xiaosu's head teacher had stopped talking. He was happy that someone came out to take the blame. A parent said, "You are a teacher, do you have to get angry with us for a refugee?" "I don't know what refugees or people from the barrier are," Jiang Wu said loudly. "I only know that he is a student." Ren Xiaosu looked at this scene, and he suddenly felt that Jiang Wu was a little crude and even a little silly. But if it weren't for the persistence and perseverance in the other party, Ren Xiaosu would not have helped the other party in the wilderness. Without Ren Xiaosu's help, Jiang Wu and her students might have died at that time. At this moment, Ren Xiaosu's heart was touched, because in this turbid world, he finally saw something shining in a person. Before that, there were Wang Fuguan's sister Xiaoyu. Chen Wudi can barely be considered half now, and Yan Luoyuan is needless to say. There is a family relationship between him and Yan Luoyuan. A parent suddenly said, "If you protect him so much, why don't you let him go to your class?" Jiang Wu said without hesitation, "I came here to talk about this. I will apply for Ren Xiaosu to go to her class now." An abrupt voice rang out in the crowd, "I also apply to go to your class." Ren Xiaosu looked over and was surprised to find that the person who spoke was Yang Xiaojun. When the parents heard Jiang Wu say this, they sneered, "You are a teacher who is a little irresponsible. You are willing to let him go to your class, but are your students' parents willing?" Jiang Wu paused and lowered his voice, "My students have no parents, I just need to ask for their consent." This is actually Jiang Wu's pain point. Those students who fled here experienced the joy of surviving the disaster and slowly began to miss their families. This is an inseparable pain in the disaster, but it can only be hidden in the heart under the skin and muscles and slowly settle. Suddenly, there was a commotion outside the crowd. More than 20 students came to Jiang Wu's side and said, "Teacher, there is no need to ask for our opinions. We are willing to let Ren Xiaosu come to our class. We support you and Ren Xiaosu." A student on the periphery whispered, "Why are you helping a refugee like this?" One of Jiang Wu's students said seriously, "Help? We are not helping him, and he doesn't need our help. You know nothing about the world outside the barrier. I think this is a tragedy." In the eyes of Jiang Wu's students, they stood up for Ren Xiaosu at this time just out of gratitude. If it weren't for Ren Xiaosu, they would not be able to sit in the classroom alive. There were thousands of refugees in that great escape, but how many of them have actually reached the 109th barrier now? The sentence that they remember most deeply about that great escape is what Jiang Wu said, "Follow the boy named Ren Xiaosu and you can survive." As a result, they really survived. The parents of the students in the corridor were stunned, because they always felt that this matter seemed to deviate from their imagination. It will soon reach 5,000 votes, so I will add more in advance. Thank you everyone. Chapter 149, Barrier Turmoil. Neither Ren Xiaosu's former classmates nor the parents had expected that someone would stand up for Ren Xiaosu. To be honest, if the roles were reversed and they were in Ren Xiaosu's current situation, they felt that no one would speak for them. Yang Xiaojun stood in the corridor with her arms folded, watching the scene with interest. She guessed the beginning, but not the ending. The parents were a little embarrassed. They didn't know what to do now. The students stared at Ren Xiaosu blankly. Everyone was actually wondering who the boy was. Jiang Wu looked at Ren Xiaosu's former head teacher and said, "Ren Xiaosu will go to her class directly. You can go to the school to handle the formalities." The head teacher was very happy. He smiled and said, "Okay, I'll do it later." But before he could breathe a sigh of relief, he heard Jiang Wu coldly said, "I feel ashamed for you, a teacher who can't even protect his own students. You didn't even say a word for him." The head teacher was choked and his face turned purple and black on the spot, but he didn't know how to refute Jiang Wu. Ren Xiaosu returned to the classroom to get his school bag to change classes. Before leaving, Ren Xiaosu came to Xiao Yuki, and Xiao Yuki suddenly had a bad feeling in her heart. Ren Xiaosu took a deep breath and said seriously, "I wish you a speedy recovery." Puff. Yang Xiaojun found that she seemed to have not laughed as happily as today for many years, as if all the laughs in the past few years were concentrated on Ren Xiaosu, but she did not hesitate and also packed her things. On the way to the class, Jiang Wu said to Ren Xiaosu, "If you have any difficulties in your studies recently, you can tell me. I can teach you anything you don't know and make up for it." Ren Xiaosu thought for a while and said, "There is indeed some knowledge that I need to ask teacher Jiang for." "Which subject?" Jiang Wu asked. Ren Xiaosu was stunned for a moment. "Bicycle subject." Jiang Wu stopped and looked at him quietly. She thought Ren Xiaosu might ask her to help with subjects like mathematics, but she never expected that Ren Xiaosu wanted to learn bicycles. He is really a boy who always surprises people. Yang Xiaojun walked beside Ren Xiaosu and said, "Have you bought a bicycle?" Ren Xiaosu glanced at her. "Why are you joining in the fun? Shouldn't we try to avoid being in the same class, Ren Xiaosu?" Yang Xiaojun smiled and said, "I don't mind. Who cares if you mind or not?" Ren Xiaosu wanted to curse. As a result of this class change incident, Ren Xiaosu and Yang Xiaojun became deskmates. Even Ren Xiaosu felt that this might be fate. After school in the afternoon, Jiang Wu followed Ren Xiaosu, Yan Liwen and others to take the tram home. On the way, Yan Liwen seemed to have heard about what happened in school today. When he saw Jiang Wu for the first time, he said thank you. This was to thank Jiang Wu for helping his brother out of trouble. To be honest, Yan Liwen really disliked these barrier people more and more, except for Jiang Wu and her students. Oh no, Sister Yang Xiaojun should be excluded as well. After returning to the store, Ren Xiaosu couldn't wait to ask Jiang Wu to teach everyone how to ride a bicycle. Ren Xiaosu required everyone to learn this thing, which was very useful. Ren Xiaosu thought that if they needed to cross the wilderness between the barriers, then cars would definitely be the first choice. But the problem was that they couldn't get cars at all, and cars had a series of restrictions such as gasoline, and they didn't know who to learn driving skills from. So as a second choice, bicycles became the preferred means of transportation. They were easy to repair, durable to ride, and easy to learn. The key was that they could buy them now. A bicycle in the barrier costs more than 3,000 yuan, which is also a light luxury item. It can be seen how determined Sister Xiaoi was to give this gift to Ren Xiaosu. How could ordinary people be willing to spend so much money? Sister Xiaoi would spend half an hour bargaining for 2 cents when buying vegetables on weekdays. A group of people watched Jiang Wu riding a bicycle easily back and forth on the street in front of the store. Even Chen Wudi squatted at the door of the store, looking like he had to learn how to ride a bicycle. Jiang Wu explained the key points of the movements to them. She said, "You have to master the balance when riding a bicycle, and don't look at the front of the bicycle. Look forward and overcome your fear." When this teacher Jiang Wu demonstrated, she showed a unique charm of a mature woman. After Jiang Wu finished the demonstration, everyone tried it one by one. To Ren Xiaosu's surprise, Yan Liwen actually learned it on the spot. This kid could ride a bicycle steadily after just watching the demonstration once. However, what surprised Ren Xiaosu was that he didn't learn it. To be precise, it's not that he didn't learn it. In fact, it's just a matter of time before he learns it. In fact, most people take several days or even longer to learn to ride a bicycle, so Ren Xiaosu's situation is normal. But what Ren Xiaosu couldn't accept was that Chen Wudi, a fool, could learn it in one go. This made Ren Xiaosu embarrassed, but he absolutely couldn't admit that it was his own problem. Ren Xiaosu pondered for a while and looked at Sister Xiaoyu. "Sister Xiaoyu, is there something wrong with the bike you bought?" Sister Xiaoyu smiled and didn't get angry. Li Yuan and Chen Wudi could ride it, so what could be wrong with this bike? But she found that Ren Xiaosu actually had the habit of passing on the blame. Of course, she didn't know that Su Xianshu, the last person who was blamed by Ren Xiaosu, was still trudging through the wilderness with an invisible big black pot on his back. Jiang Wu smiled and said, "It actually takes several days to learn how to ride a bicycle. You will be able to do it in a few days." Just as Jiang Wu finished speaking, a roar suddenly came from the distance. The sound was like a bomb exploding in the fortress. Was it Yang Xiaojun who did it? Ren Xiaosu subconsciously thought that it might be Yang Xiaojun who detonated the bomb she made, but he carefully identified the sound and found that it was not. He said to Chen Wudi and Yan Liwen, "Take your guns and close the store door. Don't open the door before I come back. Teacher Jiang Wu, you should also hide here with us. If something happens, we can take care of it." After saying that, Ren Xiaosu left the store. Now that he is a superhuman, he can no longer stay out of it. He must see and hear first-hand information with his own eyes and ears to make the most correct judgment. Only in this way can he and everyone continue to live. The place where the explosion occurred should be several kilometers away from here, but at Ren Xiaosu's current speed, it would only take a few minutes to get there. As Ren Xiaosu was on his way, he suddenly saw a building more than 10 stories high. This was one of the tallest buildings in the fortress, and it was just the right place for him to watch the battle. Chapter 150. The dust is coming. The explosions in the rampart still sounded from time to time, but the momentum was a little smaller. When Ren Xiaosu was on his way, he saw many residents of the ramparts coming out of their homes. Everyone gathered together and seemed to be discussing what happened. Some people said that it might be a fire in a factory, and some flammable and explosive materials in the factory exploded. But Ren Xiaosu felt that this matter could not be so simple, especially in this tense period of time. You know, this 109 ramparts now gather a lot of dangerous people. Ren Xiaosu came to the front of the tall building and saw the sign of Li's Bank on the tall building. However, he ignored it and climbed directly to the top along the external support point of the building. However, when he just climbed to the edge of the rooftop and was about to jump up, a black gun muzzle was pressed against his forehead. Ren Xiaosu was stunned. He didn't expect that there was someone up there. He looked up and saw that the other person was wearing a familiar peaked cap. Yang Xiaojun didn't seem to expect to see Ren Xiaosu here. It must be said that she always felt that the two of them had a strange tacit understanding. What they did and the commanding heights they chose would overlap amazingly at some point. But now Yang Xiaojun had the absolute initiative. She smiled and said, "Why are you here at this time? Aren't we all attracted by the explosion?" Ren Xiaosu said calmly. He was now sure that the explosion was not caused by Yang Xiaojun. After all, this place was still some distance away from the explosion point. At this moment, Ren Xiaosu tried to avoid Yang Xiaojun's gun, but he knew very well that with Yang Xiaojun's gun skills, he had no chance at all. Yang Xiaojun smiled and said, "Let me ask you again, is the dagger yours or mine?" Ren Xiaosu said seriously, "Mine." Yang Xiaojun. To be honest, Ren Xiaosu didn't expect Yang Xiaojun to still miss her dagger at such a critical moment, and Yang Xiaojun didn't expect Ren Xiaosu to still want the dagger at this time. "Come up." Yang Xiaojun put away the gun with a cold face. She didn't know what to do with Ren Xiaosu. Pointing a gun at the other party was just to scare Ren Xiaosu for fun, but she couldn't really shoot. Ren Xiaosu climbed onto the rooftop and dusted himself off. What happened that caused such a big commotion? "The Spark Company is playing with fire," Yang Xiaojun explained. "An awakened extraordinary person went to sell blood." He thought the Spark Company was really a charity. As a result, the Spark Company took action on the spot and wanted to arrest him directly, but failed. So the Spark Company is really taking $1 million reward to fish, Ren Xiaosu sighed. Fortunately, he did not go to sell blood and stop Chen Wudi, but how could the Spark Company fail? How could such a powerful company dare to fish for extraordinary people without making sufficient preparations? It was indeed successful the first time. They injected a large dose of anesthetic into the body of the extraordinary person, but they didn't expect that this extraordinary person had a companion. Yang Xiaojun explained, the two hidden extraordinary people should have known each other for a long time. Before going to the Spark Company to exchange money, they agreed that if something happened to one of them, the other would come to the rescue. They are a small alliance. Now Ren Xiaosu understood that the extraordinary person who went to sell blood was also prepared. He laughed happily and said, "Then the Spark Company failed. Now is a good opportunity to take them down." "Don't underestimate the Spark Company," Yang Xiaojun shook his head. "The company's early morning combat sequence is very powerful, even if they only have 5 people. The reason why the 2 extraordinary people can hold on until now is because Fatty Luo from the Qing family is also playing tricks." "Luo Lan?" Ren Xiaosu asked in surprise. "Why is he picking on the Spark Company?" "Qing Zhen ambushed and arrested more than 100 members of the Spark Company last year, Yang Xiaojun said, the Spark Company and the Qing Group have long been mortal enemies, the kind that will not stop until one side is dead. This made Ren Xiaosu a little confused. Why did Qing Zhen have a problem with the Fire Company? Because the Fire Company used this fishing method to capture a soldier under Qing Zhen who was on vacation. The operation was very successful and more covert. Qing Zhen did not find out until the Fire Company evacuated, Yang Xiaojun explained, but Qing Zhen rescued the soldier. It was the time when the Fire Company was ambushed and arrested. Ren Xiaosu. What the hell is this relationship? It's a mess. Are the struggles between consortiums so fierce? Ren Xiaosu couldn't help asking, then why did you kill Qing Zhen? You obviously don't get along with the Fire Company. Then isn't the enemy of my enemy a friend? Yang Xiaojun glanced at him and said, the enemy is the enemy. We don't play the game of forming alliances. At this moment, Ren Xiaosu suddenly felt that the organization that Yang Xiaojun belonged to must have very clear goals or organizational principles. Anyone who touched their interests would probably be on their assassination list. Very curious, huh? Yang Xiaojun's face pressed against the cold gun, his eyes looking into the distance through the scope that was almost as thick as his forearm. Spark Company and Qing Zhen are trying to master something that they can't control at all. Whether they succeed or fail, it's a disaster. Ren Xiaosu understood. It turned out that the purpose of Yang Xiaojun's organization was love and peace. Isn't this nonsense? Ren Xiaosu didn't believe that there was anyone in the world who was so selfless. At this moment, Ren Xiaosu saw countless combat troops of the League Group arriving at the battlefield. They quickly closed all the intersections, set up roadblocks and bunkers, and then a group of fully armed combat teams infiltrated into the core area of the battlefield, with extremely cautious movements. The rooftop chosen by Yang Xiaojun happened to be outside the blockade. Ren Xiaosu knew that he was lucky, but Yang Xiaojun was probably not lucky. She knew the action habits of the League Group's combat troops, so she chose this place. Ren Xiaosu asked, the League Group is a little slow to come. This 109th barrier is their home ground. They have something more important to protect now, Yang Xiaojun said calmly. They won't care too much about anything that doesn't threaten that thing. Keep quiet. After saying this, Yang Xiaojun's breathing suddenly slowed down. He looked in the direction of the gun, but what surprised him was that outside the encirclement of the League Group, a manhole cover was suddenly pushed open from the inside, and the first person who crawled out of the sewer was Luo Lan. Luo Pang climbed out panting, followed by Tang Zhou and others, and Tang Zhou was carrying an unconscious person on his shoulder. They were running in the direction of their own parked vehicles on the roadside, and it seemed that they were preparing to drive away. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.